Let me check it out here. Hang on here. April 16th. Where's Nick Sirianni's mega deal? Where's this mega deal? This $25 million a year deal for the greatest coach in the NFL in North America. Where is this thing? Come on. This guy is the best coach since John Wooden. Holy shit. He's the modern day Vince Lombardi. Where's this deal? It's April 16th. Holy cow. Where's it going? Where are we? I can't wait for this mega deal. Where is it? 8 days until the National Football League's draft. 8 days until, well, a draft that I don't really think, and I've been saying since day one. Hey, isn't it funny? How come when Big Sil says it, and I start to say it, everyone starts to go, this ain't the greatest draft. I said this 2 months ago. 2.5 months ago. This is not a good draft. There's like 4 dudes in it that you could possibly go are blue chip guys. I mean, the quarterbacks will always dictate, and the receivers. Hey, do you understand what's made this draft shitty? Do you guys know? Do you guys know what's made the draft shitty? Lack of quarterbacks, and what else? Lack of receivers. There may be only one wide receiver go in the draft this year. Only one. And 2 quarterbacks. That's why this draft doesn't look very promising. You got a bunch of good offensive tackles, some good edge rushers, guys who are going to be, by the way, I do think there's starters in the draft. Do I think there's generational players? Maybe 2. Okay, maybe 2. Now, I'll tell you something here what Chuck says. By the way, please hit the like button. Supers go to the top. This right here, Howie Roseman addressed this, but like when Xander puts those great topics out on Birds 365, I'm going to do to Howie Roseman what I do to Xander. I'm going to give a little more than what Howie's answer was about the transfer portal. The transfer portal is making it difficult to evaluate college talent. Why is that? Different conferences. Look at Mike Green. Mike Green was in the ACC at Virginia, right? He's not going to do that shit that he did at Marshall. So you're not getting a fair evaluation of Mike Green. Mike Green's got all the tools in the box to be a pass rusher. Yeah, against Western Michigan? Sure. Try that shit against Ohio State. Or try that against Clemson. That ain't happening. You're getting shut down. That Ashton Genty guy, he's up at Boise State running all over people like from North Dakota State, Wyoming. And then when he gets in a game against Penn State, he gets stuffed. Makes it difficult. You got to do more due diligence. Hoss, I'm telling you, the draft now is a little more complex. But this year's draft, it's because of the receivers and quarterbacks. It's just not the quarterbacks dragging the draft down. Dragging the draft down are the wideouts, not being, what is it, that McMullen kid from Arizona. And there's not another wide receiver in the first round that you would go, I'm going to draft him. Maybe the kid from Ohio State. Outside of that, there's really not a lot of offensive skilled talent. Get this. You got possibly 2 quarterbacks, 2 receivers, and 1 running back on the skilled guys. 2 tight ends. And the rest of the draft is filled with safeties, edge rushers, offensive linemen and D tackles. That's all. There's the majority of those kids aren't bad, those D tackles and the edge rushers. Okay, but there's no tight ends and there's nothing in here. So again, at the end of the day, that's where the draft is. Sills, you got any inside information on who Clint Hurt wants? We're going to do that here in a couple minutes. Kyle, my recommendation to him was James Pierce, the kid from Michigan, Grant, for the D tackle position, maybe the kid from Oregon, and the edge rusher, I went with James Pierce. And if you have to go into the second round, you're going to get that kid Jack Sawyer from Ohio State. Same value. Like I said yesterday, the 32nd pick, I love how Eagle fans are trying to make the 32nd pick into the first pick of the draft. It's one pick away from being the first pick in the second. It's not that crazy to go, well, I'll take a safety at 32. Dude, what are you talking about? Get the best guy available. We're going to go over what Howie Roseman said yesterday. I had a chance to go over it with a little bit more due diligence on what I took a lot away from it. Okay, I took a lot away. LJ says that they should draft Joy Taylor's nephew, Mason Taylor. I know the kid very well. Went to St. Thomas Aquinas. He was coached exceptionally well when he was at St. Thomas. He's rapidly moving up the draft board because why? Jason told him exactly what they're looking for at the combines and what they're looking for at Pro Day. He played at a great college, LSU. He's got great hands. The problem is that there was a changeover from Ed Ogeron to Brian Kelly, and Brian Kelly's never really been a tight end offensive guy. So you got caught in between transition. That's why he didn't put bigger numbers up. LJ's right. He's got talent. He's a talented kid, and he will probably be underdrafted. That's a value pick. We're going to talk about value picks. 32 is a value position. Number one, you have the board at your hands. You could do whatever you want and go anywhere you want. Actually, the top 5. But when you're at 32, it's about what falls to you in value. Hit the like button. And by the way, for the record, I don't really think much of Brian Kelly. What did Brian Kelly actually do at Notre Dame? And has he made the program better at LSU since Ogeron left? Shit, last time I checked, Ed Ogeron won a SEC championship, a national championship, and a Heisman. I know Kelly got the Heisman with Jaden Daniels. Okay, I get it. But I mean, Coach O, that greatest team that's ever had to go into an NFL draft when those 60-some-odd players got drafted, Ogeron recruited every one of those guys. He recruited every guy. I want to ask a question before we get going here. By the way, we will have Jay Gruden at 4:30. Philly 500 will be with us at 5:30, Xander at 3:30. Guys, do me a favor. Please hit the like button. Supers go to the top. So let me ask you this. How many people believe that Jeffrey Lurie believes that he's a good evaluator of head coaches? That he is a really good evaluator of head coaches in the National Football League when it comes to selecting guys to run his team? How many people in here? I do. I believe that. I believe that he is every single guy since 2000 has a winning record. Every single guy has had a contribution to the success of the team. Even Chip Kelly's shitty stuff. Jeff Stoutland was brought in. Lane Johnson was drafted. As bad as that went, he still brought something to the franchise. Every guy that he's hired has brought something to the franchise. Andy Reid, Doug Peterson won a Super Bowl, and now Nick Sirianni, who also has won a Super Bowl. Okay? So, once again, how many people believe that Jeffrey Lurie knows what he's doing when it comes to hiring coaches? What makes you think that he thinks he can't replace Howie? It's funny. Xander and I were talking prior to the program about a particular individual who actually needs me more than I need them. How in the world don't you look at it that way? With Jeffrey Lurie thinking, I've hired assistants, I've hired head coaches, I had Joe Banner. Joe Banner taught Howie Roseman. What makes you think he can't think he can replace him with his son? Or somebody else that could run this franchise? Don't you agree? There is no way in the world that Jeffrey Lurie thinks he can't win without Howie Roseman. I'm not suggesting to you that he wants to replace him, but let's not get ahead of our skis. What does John McMullen tell? Am I right, Xander? What does John McMullen tell you about Howie Roseman every day on Birds 365? What is that? Howie is not the GM he is without that owner. Those aren't my words. Those are John McMullen's words, who are in the pit every single time there's a press conference at the NovaCare Center. I'm just going by what John and Xander say. Am I right? I started thinking about the value and the importance of Howie Roseman. Howie didn't set that system up. Andy Reid and Joe Banner did. Howie has modified it. He has made it evolve with the times, salary cap, all of that. But let's not kid yourself. Every single person in that organization is replaceable because the owner knows he can do it. And he has done it. His resume speaks to that. Okay? Get this. He is clearly not listening to me. Okay, now, the back end of his comment, I see where he's going. He won't replace him yet, but he's getting groomed for sure to the owner, GM, when Lurie hands the team over to his kid. He's talking about his son. Absolutely. The son is being schooled by Jeffrey Lurie and by Howie Roseman. He's taking over. Now, will the owner of the team have enough faith in the kid to do what Howie does? Just telling you here. You know, I keep hearing people go, Howie is the most important. Dude, the most important person in the building is the owner. It's not Howie. Do you think that Jeffrey Lurie believes he can win without Howie Roseman? Stu, let's ask a question here. Do you believe Jeffrey Lurie believes he can win without Howie Roseman? Yes or no? You don't know? He has. Do you believe that the owner of that football team, get this, Sue says no. Sue says that Jeffrey Lurie believes right now he can't win without Howie Roseman. There's not an owner in this league that doesn't think anybody's replaceable. It's a crazy take. It's a crazy take. Everybody's replaceable. Okay, 10 years from now, let's say 10 years from now, You think Jeffrey Lurie's going to be the owner and run the team until he's what, 83? Get the fuck out of here. That guy's going to be out of the building in 3 years. And they're going to pass that thing off. How about this? During Jalen Hurts' time as starting quarterback for the Eagles, the kid will take over as general manager of that team in that time. You watch. Dude, you fired a Hall of Fame coach, moved on from him. You fired a Super Bowl winning coach, moved on from him. You'll move on from this guy too. The owner is the guy that makes this thing run. Without Jerry, you know why? Hey, how about this? Let me ask you something here. You think Howie Roseman could go anywhere else in the league and be as successful as he is in Philly? I do not. That's when you know you're a great general manager or you're a great head coach. Do you believe that Howie could go anywhere in the league and do the things he's doing now in Philadelphia, in Carolina, Tennessee, the Raiders, Seattle? I don't know. Pick one. I don't. You know why? Those owners don't spend the money up front. Look at this guy. He thinks Howie Roseman would be successful with the Jets. When the owner doesn't know what he's doing, he gets in the way, he's drafting off of Madden, and he would never give the money up front. What a dumb-ass take and a typical L move by M. Eagle Reyes. That's your new name, M. Eagle Reyes. This guy thinks these guys walk on water. The only reason that guy's successful is because the owner puts the bag of money up front. M. Reyes would think this guy can cure cancer. Honestly, this guy, hey, according to M. Reyes, cancer will be solved after the draft by Howie Roseman. What a dumbass take, as usual. That owner is the key to this whole thing. And everybody knows it. So when, if you open up a newspaper, oh, Howie this, Howie that, I'm listening to the guy. Dude, you're nobody without that owner. You're nobody without that owner. Have they mastered the draft? Well, I'll tell you what, it took him 25 years. Thank God he got it. They were on a really good 3-year run. He's been a GM for over 20 years. It's about time. Shit, man. I mean, we're sitting here, we're going like this now. Okay, yeah, sure. Really doing a good job. Really great job. He has. And I'm not dismissing it. I am not. How he runs the show? How he runs the show because the owner allows him to. Remember, he works for somebody. He don't run his own shop. This guy thinks that Howie runs the show. Howie asks for permission to take a piss. Anytime Howie wants to take a piss at NovaCare, he asks the owner. They work well together because he allows it. They work well together. Well, let me hook you up on some billionaires and how they act. They believe they're the smartest people in the room. Okay? Get this. Once again, I love how everyone is, Howie's the greatest thing. The owner allows it. And to be fair, they are a good team. They do work together well. Jeffrey does have confidence in them. That's because he schooled them and he's developed him into being a GM. So it all starts with the owner. Very interesting, different takes on Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni's press conference yesterday. It was pretty interesting, to say the least. I had a different takeaway than some of you guys. You know, it's funny. When I listen to something, having known some of the people that know how to run a draft and people who have been exceptionally successful at the draft and evaluating of the draft and multiple general managers, I have a different take. Okay? I have a completely different take. Guys, do me a favor. Please hit the like button. Jay Gruden will join us at 4:30. Philly 500 at 5:30. Appreciate you guys being here. 8 days out from the NFL draft. So let me give you some of my takeaways. I wrote some cliff notes down here. There is no doubt he has a pretty good understanding of where he is at 32 and what 32 means, the position in the draft board. It's value and timing. I love that. Okay? It's value and timing. The board in front of you is going to dictate where you are and who you are at 32 and what you do. Right now, the move is trading out. It's not trading up. Trading up for what? When there's not one exciting player outside the top four. What exactly are you trading up for? If you're trading up for need, you're in trouble and you don't get the draft. We have to be consistent. Okay? We have to be consistent where we are on the board and how we evaluate, value, talent, and the pick. He got it. He does know what he's doing in the draft. At the 32nd pick, is the kid from Oregon worth the 32nd pick? No. I'm not spending a first-round pick on a guy in a good draft who would go in the top of the second round. That's not a value pick. The ability doesn't match up with the pick. Information on the top 30 kids is essential. High school coach, college coach, position coach, opponents coaches, opponents, conference, workout habits, strength and conditioning, combines, the interview. Can he comprehend and can he absorb intel? You know, one of the most important things, okay, for a player is what? Retaining of information. Why do you think they have mini camps? Why do you think they have training camps? They throw so much information at players, they pretty much empty the playbook on you, and they want to see how much you retain. You can go to a rookie minicamp, a rookie OTA. You'll get 17, 18 different plays. And they'll ask you to line up. Most guys, no way. You retain about 15 to 20%. You haven't practiced it. You don't know it. Who are the guys that study it? Hey, man, some guys can take the information and absorb it immediately and retain all of it. Those are the guys that Vic Fangio and Jeff Stoutland are going to feel comfortable with, and Nick Sirianni. You know what? At times, you would rather have a lesser player. Here is the prime example of what separates Tom Brady from Aaron Rodgers. Not just the fact because Tom absorbs the information and processes it better than Aaron Rodgers. He's a better processor of information. There's not one thing physically that Tom Brady does better than Aaron Rodgers. Not one. He's not more accurate. He doesn't have a better arm. He's not a better athlete. Nothing he does better. How is it possible? Brady absorbs the information and processes it better. He sees the game quicker. That's right. That's right. Brains over the bronze. That's why Jalen Hurts is a better quarterback than Lamar Jackson. He's smarter. Processes the information. Okay? He processes it better. Don't you ever wonder why you look at a guy and you go like this? Here, I'll give you a personal example. Bernie Kosar was a quarterback for the Browns. He had a horrible body. He looked like Ichabod Crane, some school teacher, 6'5", and he had a beer gut. And he had no athleticism at all. None. I mean, this guy looked like a guy who lived under a bridge. Then you had Testaverde. Ran a 4.8, 6'5", squatted 600 pounds. I mean, just a bulldog, 6'5", 238 pounds. Could throw the ball 100 yards. Was nowhere near the quarterback that Bernie was. Bernie went to 3 straight AFC championship games. How's that possible? Bernie was smarter. Bernie was a smarter player. If I had to pick a quarterback, including Jim Kelly, to win a national championship between Jim Kelly, Vinny Testaverde, Cam Ward is high. This guy's got himself on the Mount Rushmore of Hurricanes. Get the fuck out of here, guy. Out of your mind. You're not that good. There's 17, 18 players better than what you ever thought you were. Got to be crazy. And, I mean, this is about processing of information. That kid Cam Ward's high. Mount Rushmore of Hurricane players. Typical kid of today, not knowing dick. I mean, this guy is dismissing Hall of Fame football players. And this kid hasn't even been drafted yet or played a down or got an NFL helmet yet. And he's the best thing the Hurricanes have ever produced. Yeah, okay, kid. You mean like Ted Hendricks, who was on the top 100 players of all time, 75th anniversary team, 4 Super Bowl wins, 3-time All-American in college, 8-time Pro Bowler. The Stork was one of the greatest players of all time. Ray Lewis, Super Bowl MVP, 2-time NFL Defensive Player of the Year. Ed Reed, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. Michael Irvin, 3-time Super Bowl champion, Hall of Famer. This guy's fucking better than them guys? Kid, you better put the pot down and you better put the hookah down because you're high. Before you start barking. What a stupid-ass kid. Typical. That would make me not want to draft you anyway. What a dumbass. He's top 4 Canes. Yeah, okay. You're not better than Jerome. So let's go on here. We evaluate everyone in the building, and we evaluate everybody that's in the draft, which means this. Some of you out there, when you guys were ripping me and others, maybe even Xander, for TJ Watt, you don't really think Howie called? Just for shits and giggles, see what the Steelers wanted for him? Didn't that guy, the general manager of the Washington Commanders, during draft day last year say, it's Roseman on the phone again? Oh, but no. General manager's job is to ask questions, not sit back and do shit. Didn't he tell you his biggest problem that he has at GM is being Too aggressive? Howie Roseman sitting back on his ass. Doesn't sound like that's the makeup that he portrayed to you yesterday. It's incredible to hear people who actually cover him make asinine assholes of themselves. Incredible. Draft is a separate entity. He was talking about Goddard. This is a lie. Okay? This is a lie. But it's not, listen, when you're in this time frame and you're 10 days to the draft, Howie's not lying about anything. Howie has got to lead you in a different direction. You know why? Why would Howie Roseman say the draft is separate from any current contract situations we have? And he was addressing the Dallas Goedert question because he's constantly talking to the agent. If he says, hey, what we do in this draft is really going to dictate, he's also devaluing potential deals out there. If he throws out there, hey, listen, it really doesn't have anything to do. He was kind of Switzerland on the question for a reason. You're negotiating to try to have him take less. You're making sure if you're shopping him, you're trying to keep his value. And you're evaluating the tight ends in this draft on value, on where they are in the draft. What's the value? Jason Taylor's son at 32 is not value. Howie's not taking him at 32. It's not a value pick. When you're at 32, does the skill and the value match? Innocent until proven guilty. This sounds to me like he's backing up on Mike Green. If Mike were to fall there, he's preparing you. If Mike Green does fall in the draft, would he go up to 18 like I suggested yesterday with Seattle to grab him? If he feels so inclined? He backed that issue up. Everybody's innocent until proven guilty. Remember what else he said? Xander, I wonder if you caught this too. You know, somebody takes a soundbite, and I'm learning in the new modern age of YouTube that in podcasting, that you could take an insert and run with that and run, I'm adding this, with that narrative. That the Eagles don't look at anybody with any kind of character issues. He came back yesterday and said, yeah, but if you're innocent, we're going to do our due diligence until we find out. It's kind of what I said. So he backed that statement up. And he backpedaled on that. Those were his comments. Mike Green falls down there or close enough. Would he go up and get him? Sounds to me like he would. If the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted. Sounds like that to me. Every pick is a value pick. More picks, the better. And your chances of beating the odds. Absolutely amen. Absolutely amen. This is why these 20 picks, you got 20 picks. My opinion, out of 20 picks, Howie's probably hoping for 4 starters. 4 starters out of that 20 picks. 4 good starters out of those 20 picks would be amazing. The tight end. Profiling a tight end. Listen to this. This is a Nick Sirianni comment. Now, one guy has to fit all, which means they're going to do it by committee. You know why? Jalen Hurts doesn't utilize the tight end. Now, I'll give you this. He was instrumental in the playoffs. He was the leading receiver. But that tight end for 17 ball games this past year was a non-factor. And you winning the Super Bowl and having during the regular season, quite frankly, the last 3 years, the tight end position, he doesn't throw across the middle. They don't really utilize that thing. They're going to run that position by committee. They're not going to spend significant money at that position. That's how I read that. Nick Sirianni's own words. You don't have to have a one-guy fit all. What does that mean? Sounds to me a committee guy. Guy who can catch, guy who can block. Maybe a guy who's kind of in the middle. Let the best situation win. What's funny is Goddard can do all that. Why wouldn't you want? You've got the guy who fits all. You just don't want to pay him. The Eagles don't want to pay the tight end position anymore. That's how I'm reading that. Because you have the fit all guy. Now, the injuries are a major issue here with this. They don't want to spend $15 million on that position. They would rather have and do it by committee. Tell me I'm wrong. These are the coaches and the GM's words. Am I reading that wrong? I don't think I'm reading that wrong. Nick said it. You know, the position group, you don't have to have a one-fit-all. One guy can do this. One guy can be efficient at this. Well, that's a new philosophy. That's a 2025 philosophy. I've never heard that before. Have you? Have you ever heard them describe the tight end position in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where you had Zach Ertz and you had great tight end play for the last 25 years? That's the first time I've heard anybody in Philly tell me that you can have a committee at the tight end position. Am I wrong? I've never heard that before. That's the first time I've ever heard that. The tight end position in Philly under Andy, Doug, to some extent, even Nick, have all been exceptionally successful here. Now, all of a sudden, you don't have to have a one-fit-all. When did that happen? This year. They've decided that they're going to spend the numbers or the money on the numbers. And they're going to spend the money at running back. You know what happened? I'll tell you exactly what happened. Because the running back became such a major focal point. They feel they can get away with a run-blocking tight end. This Harrison Bryant kid will be better a fit for what they're going to do this coming year by running the ball than what Goddard would be when he's missing games. And the running back is taking the tight end's money. L.J. Smith, Chad Lewis, Ertz. Dude, these are all great players. All of a sudden, that philosophy's changed. You don't have to. Hey, let me ask you something, Leon. Weren't those guys pretty much one fit all? Now, Ertz wasn't the best blocker. When he caught the ball, he looked for a piece of grass to land on. I got it. Not every one of these guys were perfect, but they fit their role, right? Maybe somewhere someone was not the better blocker, but they were one fit. They were the Swiss Army knife of the tight end position. All of a sudden now in 25, that's changed. I think the running back changed that. They took the $15 million from the tight end. You know what Howie did? He gave it to the running back because the running back became more effective and efficient in catching the ball and running the ball, pass protection, than the tight end did at $15 million. They're going to go by committee at tight end. Am I reading it wrong? Those are the coach's words. Wrote it down here. Look, I got on my notes. Profile of a tight end here. What guy doesn't have to be a fit-all player at tight end? Nick. They're moving off of paying the tight end. They'd rather get a kid in the draft. And they'd rather go to war with Grant Calcaterra catching and somebody blocking. They're going to do this by committee. Anthony goes, what's wrong with that? Nothing. It's a change in philosophy. I'm only pointing out what they said. Remember what somebody said? They didn't say anything? Tell me that's not instrumental. That they're changing the way they're looking at the tight end position. Tell me I'm wrong. How are you looking at that? They're not looking for it. And if they are going to find a guy in the draft, he'll be on a rookie deal. Maybe he develops into that one guy who fits all. But they're not paying for it. Okay, they're not paying for that. Tell me I'm wrong. How did you not hear that differently? When I heard that, I was like, wow, change of philosophy at tight end. So Xander was right. Xander goes, I couldn't wait to hear you, Sells, because I'm sure you had a different take. Oh, a bunch of different takes. They changed their philosophy at the tight end position. They're going by committee. The coach said it. You know why that's true? Because you have the guy in the building that's one fit all. In Dallas Goedert, you're moving off him. Money, injuries. That's why you're moving. See, this is a true case. This is true. Your salaries don't match your passing game. You're not getting value for your passing game. Now, you'll turn around and go, well, they won. Agreed. That's the only reason they covered it. The only reason, let me tell you something. You see what Curtis just said? The only reason that people aren't more upset or upset at all is because you won the Super Bowl, which you won it paying wrong people. They found out basically who they were. They were a running team. Nothing wrong with it. It developed into a Super Bowl. There's nothing wrong with this. I'm not ripping it. Name me a team that won the Super Bowl with a tight end by committee. Dude, Leon. Okay, then Leon, and I appreciate the super. Thank you. Is my evaluation on what they said at that press conference yesterday wrong? Because I'd love to hear you. Okay? I'd love to hear you. Patriots never won. Get this. The Patriots had 2 Pro Bowlers at tight end as committee. Aaron Hernandez and Gronkowski. That's a little different than Harrison Bryant and whomever. Hollywood, you're not comparing Aaron Hernandez and Gronkowski. And, I mean, Harrison Bryant and someone else. I don't disagree, Seals. I just think we can't have a committee at tight end. I don't know how that's going to work out. I thought it was interesting that the head coach made those comments. Hit the like button, guys. Thank you. There's another one. We've been very fortunate with the tight end play in Philadelphia in the years that I've been here. Well, the tight end play has been devalued. When a head coach comes out and says we're going to do it by committee, get ready. They're moving off them. at any expense, whether it's the Giants, the Chargers, he's being traded draft day. I circled these. These were pretty important. The caliber of value of the player at the pick is essential in what you do, where you are in the draft, and what the board looks like. What does that mean? Okay. At 32, who's ever down there does not have the value at 32. He's either trading up or out. There's nobody, he told you yesterday, there's nobody at 32 who has value of the 32nd pick. Did he not say that? There's no draft in history that has had 32 first-round picks. This one, without exception. He says there's like 10, maybe. So at 32, Howie Roseman told you yesterday pretty much what he's doing. Nobody down at 32 will have the value pick unless there's a 32 guy that they valued as one of the first rounders, one of the 10 guys, that falls there to 32, which is highly unlikely. He told you yesterday. He basically told you, outside of the top 10 picks in this draft, get this. Guys, will you tell this fucking idiot I'm repeating what he's saying? I'm not predicting anything. I'm telling you what he said yesterday. This guy has to have the IQ of a fucking snail. I'm not saying anything that he didn't say yesterday. Right? No draft in NFL history has had 32 rated first-round players. None. This draft, he told you, doesn't seem to have blue-chip guys. Okay? Here's a quote from Howie Roseman. I might have to say this, and please forgive me. Jay Brown, value player on the board. Caliber of player versus pick will always trump what the value of the pick is. I hope you got that. If that's the case about the value of the 32nd, what do you think the value of the 13th overall Davis? I'm going to get to that. That's value. They just projected a ton. Here, this also told me something. This is Howie Roseman and his philosophical views of defensive tackles. I know they're looking to replace Jordan Davis. Why? Here, I'll tell you. Internal defensive tackles. Internal pressure on the quarterback is essential in today's NFL. You have to have internal pressure. Jordan Davis doesn't give you internal pressure. He gives you none of that. I mean, Milton Williams was better. He's telling you right there. Internal pressure is key to success. Well, that's not Jordan Davis. He's taken off the field on third. Get this. He does. But Jordan Davis gives you pressure on third down. RC3, he fucking doesn't play third down. Howie told you. Did he not? They're looking to replace him. They're looking at a D tackle. They're looking to replace Jordan Davis. They may pick that fifth-year option up. There is no chance in hell they are giving him a 3-year contract extension. No way. He brings nothing on third down pressure. I heard it from the GM's mouth. Yeah, well, I didn't hear the general manager talking about run stoppers. I heard him talking about internal pressure. Quote. Am I wrong? It's a fifth-year option, Spike. Get it right. Good question. Davis is a bust at 13. He's a solid player. You're overvaluing him. You can get a guy to do the same job in the third or fourth round, paying him by far less. The Eagles are downgrading and downsizing that position, and they're going to do it in the draft. They're not spending that money on Jordan Davis. End of story. They were not talking about run stoppers. They were talking about pressure on the quarterback. No, I'm a seesaw. And you can't fucking hear what a guy says at a press conference. I'm quoting him. Why are you mad on what the GM says? What are you mad at me for? The GM wasn't talking about run stoppers at $18 million. He was talking about internal pressure. And yet this dickhead thinks those were my press conferences. What a stupid, absolutely uninformed human. Just listening to somebody. Open your ears. You know, the problem with more people in life is that they don't listen. I'm paraphrasing. I'm paraphrasing when he says internal pressure is key for D-tackle play. Is paraphrasing? That's a fucking quote. Those are quotes. Man, you're twisting my words. And I'm telling you what the guy's saying. You people hate when people tell you what others are saying. Now I'm pulling quotes out of context. Did he not say internal D tackles, internal pressure is key? Was those not word for word? Dude, you're going to the corner for a couple days. Because you just like to hear yourself just be dumb. Next. I have time for that. Here's something else he said that was interesting. The D tackle market is a tad bit too expensive to go out and bring a dude in. He's right. Look at Milton. Milton set the market. When I look at Milton, $26 million, can I tell you what his value is to me? He's a good pass rusher. His versatility is what gives me a lot of, okay, I kind of see the money. It's because he can play multiple positions. But as a productive player and a player producing big numbers, that's not kind of what I see in him. Is that worth $26 million that I can play him in multiple fronts? You better get this. For that contract to work, Milt Williams has to be on a top 10 defense this year. In some category, pass rushing or run stopping, for that contract to work. If they're down in the 20s, you guys remember when Ndamukong Suh signed that big contract down in Miami when he left Detroit and they still finished 26th in run stopping and in pass rushing? That contract was a nightmare for the Dolphins. Okay? They had to move on. They moved off him in 18 months because that contract made no sense. Fuck, he brought nothing to the table. They didn't improve. His wallet improved. When a player's wallet improves and the defense doesn't improve, it's a bad deal. Get this. Jason says, I see them extending Davis at $18 million and they're going to pay $60 million for 2 D tackles. Never happened. How many people believe that? That they're going to pay a guy almost $20 million and another guy $40. Come on, guy. Use some brains. They're downsizing in certain positions. Then why didn't you keep Milton? Davis isn't better. Jordan Davis is not better than Milton Williams. Why didn't you keep the better player then? Why didn't you keep the better player? Jordan Davis has not outplayed Milton Williams in 3 years. Why didn't you keep him and pay him? Watching the tape, this is Nick. This is a good comment by Nick. Okay? This is a good, get this. This guy calls a 2-play guy a monster. Yeah. A 2-play guy who plays 20 plays a game, a monster. He's such a monster, they pull him. Yeah. What a monster. Hey, we don't want him to be too much of a monster, so we yank him out. Yeah, we pull him. He's a monster. Get this. Milton was a 3rd. Value pick is what Howie talked about yesterday. Value pick. Jordan Davis, not a value pick. He was telling you about Davis yesterday, and none of you heard it. Milton Williams was a value pick. Josh Sweat was a value pick at 4. Those are value picks. They superseded where they were drafted. Davis has underperformed. Moro Ajomo is not a value pick yet. As a backup, yes. He was drafted to be a backup. He was drafted the same thing that Jalen Hurts was, to be a backup. Now, he's put in a different role. Dude, what are you people looking at? How are you looking at players? Because you were a backup doesn't necessarily mean you're a frontline guy. It doesn't work like that. Moro Ajomo is getting the opportunity to be a starter. then it supersedes. Moro Ojomo was a 7th-round guy who's been a backup and has overperformed as a backup in that role. He has never been a starter. You're making a backup guy who was drafted in a role into something that hasn't been tested yet. Nick said something great yesterday, okay? And this, I'll ask you, is there enough players on this team? And Nick, this was a good take, and this is true. When you're sitting watching game film, okay, and you're watching a guy and you're watching your coach draw up how you play the 3 technique and how you got to get your hands inside, your head on the outside, can't give up the outside shoulder, always looking in and keeping leverage and keeping balance. And he's telling you this, and he's drawing this up, and he's showing you. It's one thing to show the guy and tell the guy. It's another thing to have the guy in the room that they're showing. Okay, this is an old school trick that Butch Davis used to have with me and Jerome. They had all these cut-ups of us. How you played a 3 technique, a 1 technique, a 5 technique, and a 2 and a 0. And they had these old cut-ups. I've played that tape for you. Okay? I've played that tape for you. And Nick said this, and it is so true. It is absolutely one of the most truest things that you could possibly say. That you have the guy sitting in the room. I'm going to try to find this. And this is the example. That when you have that guy in the room, and you're sitting there, and that guy's sitting there in the room. Okay, let me see if I can play it. Okay, this is what Nick said yesterday. Watch this.
There's no way that team could beat me and Jerome Brown and our teams. No way, Coach.
I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
There's no way.
I'm with you. I'll take Jerome Brown and Dan Sileo over anybody, any day. Backed up by Cortez Kenny, Russell Maryland, Moreland Sapp. What a great combination of defensive line play.
That's how deep it was, Coach.
Dan, I remember on a Saturday morning, Russell coming in, and we had the old film, and he'd be watching film of you and Jerome Brown.
Coach,
when Cortez came in, he watched it. Then when Warren Sapp came in, he watched it. It became like, what a great family of traditional defensive line play, the way it should have played. You are one of the best players in college football. Enjoyed watching you play, Dan.
Okay. It's not so much about me. It's more about what he said about having Fletcher in the building, telling Jalen Carter how to play the position. Or when you had Jason Kelsey in the room telling Cam Jurgens, got to get your head more front side to get that slip and scoop. Or when you had BG talking to Nolan Smith about how you play the edge. Okay? Butch took that tape to the Cowboys and played that same videotape that was there in the building for 25 years of me and Jerome. And then he took it to Dallas. You know why? I was sitting next to Ed Jones and Randy White, and they were sitting there going, so when you played that 3 technique, your objective was what? Penetration. Get up, get in the second level to knock off those guards. I'm doing that in a building with Randy White and Ed Too Tall Jones. And I'm sitting there. That was brilliant. Are there enough of those guys, in your opinion, in the building that can help these younger guys know what they're doing? Now, Jalen Carter is awesome to sit next to. Okay? You guys are fucking missing the point. Some of you guys are just rockheads. This is exactly what I'm trying to tell you. What Nick was doing, and some of you guys, seriously, are just the dumbest people on the planet. That's not about blowing myself. That's about talking about what Nick was talking about. Fucking ignorant. I'm trying to give you guys an example of how that is true. Fucking rockheads. I mean, it's nothing to do with me. It's what every good coach does. You're hoping that you have the guy in the building that fucking can show you how to play the technique. And Nick said this verbatim. That's what it's about. It's not about blowing me. I don't give a fuck about that. I'm trying to accentuate a point. Most of you you have the attention span of a gnat. And that's why you can't. Like Twiz has no brain cells beyond a 4-year-old. That's why he loses his attention span quick. Because he has the attention span of a 4-year-old. You know, I mean, there's no way you could coach a guy like that. This guy's got the attention span of a 4-year-old. Okay? I mean, honestly, I'm just trying to tell you. Okay? I'm just trying to show you what Nick was saying is exactly the case. Totally the case. Get this. Well, internal pressure's key. Jordan Davis is out. Hey, all I say is this. Twiz has the IQ of a box of rubbers. This guy has the IQ of a box of condoms. This is good here. Big Sills, what's your take on Travis Hunter's comment that if I can't play both ways, that I won't play? Well, let me hook you up here, son. I know you think you're good. The league has moved on from Tom Brady, Joe Montana, Dick Butkus, Reggie White, Randall Cunningham, Seth Joyner, Brandon Graham, Jason Kelsey. They'll be fine without you. If you don't want to play, that's okay. We'll be fine. I'm not going to play unless I get to play both ways. This is the shit that I tried telling Xander. These two guys are going to have a come to Jesus conversation when you get into an NFL building and you think you're holier than thou and your bullshit was in college and you had everything handed to you. When you get to a bad team, you think that shit's going to fly with NFL veterans and guys in this league. You got a rude awakening. You have a rude awakening on how them locker rooms are run. I'm not going to play because if I can't go both ways, I'm not going to play. Good. I don't give a shit. That's another spot for me. League will be fine without you, son. Ratings are through the roof, with you or without you. This league's not bigger than one guy. Never has been, and it never will be. The NFL's not run like the NBA with Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson. Tom Brady's, Peyton Manning's, Aaron Rodgers, they all move on. Somehow the league still continues to grow. It's a $25 billion business. But Travis Hunter's going to tell you, hey, man, I'm not going to play if I can't play wide receiver and corner. It'd be like, hey, kid, sit the fuck down before you get smacked. This is it. Shador, too. Shador, let's set the offense perfectly up for you. Fuck winning. How do you retire a guy's number that was 13-12 at Colorado? I mean, well, what was Colorado prior? Well, Dion would have turned that around with his kid or without his kid. I get Travis Hunter. He won the Heisman. I get that. Shador Sanders never won a bowl game, never beat a top 25 team, and was 13-12. He got his jersey retired? Okay. I guess. And I don't think he's a first-round pick. I'll tell you what. I can't wait, and I hope I'm wrong. This guy's had the yellow brick road laid out for him. Jackson State, Colorado. Everything was set up. Winning was not a priority. Getting him drafted in the first round. Hey, let me ask you guys this. What do you think was more of a priority for Deion Sanders? His kid getting drafted in the first round or them winning a national title? Or how about this? Them winning 10 games. What was more of a priority? What was more of a priority, you think, for Deion? Winning 10 games and a conference title? Or getting his kid drafted in the first round? I say it's getting his kid drafted. Everything he did was to get his kid drafted. Shit, when the team started losing games, go back and listen to those post-game press conferences. He blamed the O-line. He blamed the running game. He blamed the coordinator. I never heard Shedeur Sanders at any time blame a loss that he had at Colorado on himself, unlike Jalen. Good quarterbacks will go anytime that there's great success, it was team. Anytime there was great failure, it's me. That's a mantra of all these great QBs. Can you check out safety Kevin Winston Jr., Penn State? He was a top ranked before his knee injury. I will. That's a guy I grab in the 4th round. If he's a first-round kid, got a knee injury, I have no problem going out and drafting a kid in the 4th round like that. That's where I put those guys. Guys in 4th or 5th round. Hey, he was a first-round kid before he got hurt. Okay, I'll drop him in the 4th. What if he never plays? So? Sills, what wide receiver did Hunter play in college? I don't know. Travis Hunter, it's a great take. Travis Hunter never played against a guy in college that will be drafted in the 1st round, ever. Let me ask you this. When Derek Stingley or Patrick Surtain were playing what is Surtain? He's a Bama guy, right? Xander, Patrick Surtain's a Bama guy, right? Is he, Xander? Patrick Surtain was a Bama guy. Who was that guy lining up in college against every practice? Devontae? Jameson Williams? Jalen Waddle? Then you go to LSU and you're playing against Jefferson? Smitty in your own place? Travis Hunter never played against one top 3-round draft choice ever at wide receiver. He never played against a guy who will go in the top 3 rounds. I don't know. How do you know how good he is? Now, look, the way he moves, the way he plays both positions, he's got great skill he's a spectacular athlete. My opinion, that kid's got to focus on being a corner because he ain't a wideout. His routes are okay. Anybody saying that kid's a wide receiver, come on now. He's a DB. I think McMillan, he played when he was in I think you're right. I think you're right. I think he played against Tet because they were in the Pac-12. I think he played against him. Okay? So let's continue this. Xander will join us at 3:30. Also, Jay Gruden, we'll get his thoughts on how he looked at players and quarterbacks. I'll ask him about, remember, he drafted RG3. I'll ask him about Shedeur. That'll be at 4:30. And we will have Philly 500. That'll be at 5:30. Deion was only about his kid's completion record. Correct. Let's see, when nobody's in the room to give excuses out for failure. I don't know with Shedeur Sanders. does in adversity. What's the one thing? Has he ever had adversity in his life? When he has, I've only seen him melt down. He says that I'm more prepared for pressure. Funny. I don't think blaming your old line for sucking publicly, okay, is handling pressure. I don't see great character with him. You know, one thing I did like about Cam, you know, when Shador was driving around in that Rolls Royce in Boulder, all the nil money, he never spent any money on any of the players around him. Cam bought every guy like a whole bunch of like items and such, bought him trips, did a whole bunch of things. Jalen Hurts bought all those golf carts along with Saquon. I know Brady used to buy watches and Rolexes and shit like that. Shador did none of that. It's all about Shador. Shit, the one brothers in bankruptcy court, Shiloh. Those guys ain't about them. I mean, those guys ain't about team. Those guys are about me. I don't see it. Their kids think they're Dion. Dion's kids think they're Dion. Why wouldn't you? I don't see it. Okay? I don't. I think the kid's got some skills. But I think that attitude's got to be, I think that Deion Sanders attitude has to be beat out of him. We'll see if he can handle it. You go to Mike Tomlin, Tomlin will beat that out of him. It could get the best of Shador Sanders. You go to some place that's going to rely on him to carry a team. Where's he carried a team? Well, Colorado wasn't that good before. Deion's going to win more games this year than he did in the last 2 years. I guarantee you that team wins 10 ball games. We'll see. Watch the tape. I love that take by Nick. Okay? I do. So his problem today, no one beats their... I don't think you have to beat a kid to tell the kid, make a kid. Hey, you know how you tell a kid to do what you want him to do? Don't lie to him. Make him work for it. Dude, the best thing you could do for a ball player is just don't lie to him. Tell him what he needs to do. Tell him what he doesn't do well, like Vic Fangio did, and you'll get it. Look at how Vic talks to his player. Hey, Vic, have you ever seen a player like Jalen Carter? How many times was he asked that question last year? Yeah. He's working hard. He's getting better. You know, when you see a guy like that, Nick, the media sitting there, they're going to start throwing them roses at Jalen, who has a long way to go yet. Jalen Carter, the worst thing you could do is pat him on the head. That kid still needs to be kicked in the ass. I'm not patting that guy on the head. A couple pats I would, but I'm going to I'm patting him on the head after the Ram playoff game. The rest of the time, I'm kicking his ass. I'm going to ride that guy like Zorro. I'm not going to give in to that guy. I'm going to ride that guy like Zorro. That's what Vic does. He rides them guys like Zorro. Free agents. They talked about like the first rounders and second chance guys. And he goes, hey, we see a high valuation on somebody. And we believe in second opportunities here. If a guy has a high valuation, maybe there was environment. See, to me, this last one here, okay? This last one here, second chances. What do you think Howie was talking about when he said, we look at guys who were evaluated high? I got so much more than what you guys did out of that yesterday. I mean it. You guys, I mean, I took a ton of shit. What did Howie tell you about second chance guys? Do you know what he was talking about here? He was talking about environment. Sometimes guys are in environment. What was the one thing? I'll use Xander's boy, Joshua Ucheah. What was going on in New England at the time? Guy has a 10 sack year. What happens? The environment changed. Front office people left. Caserio went down to Houston. A ton of front office people left. Coaches left. Belichick was on his last year. There wasn't the people in the personnel department retooling the team that they had for 20 years. Then Belichick was fired. And what happened? There was a transition in environment. Different position coaches. Different ideology. Different approaches. All of that, can that be conducive to a guy failing because of environmental? Yes. Howie's looking at the environments that these guys were all in. Look at the kid Adoree Jackson in New York. I mean, the defense got better in the front seven, but the linebackers are still an issue, and their safeties are not very good. And their offense couldn't keep the defense off the field. How do you have a nose tackle, Brian Burns, and Kayvon Thibodeau on your front seven, and you're not good? Why? Your offense is like a ballet routine. It's 1, 2, 3 kick. 1, 2, 3 kick. 1, 2, 3 kick. 1, 2, 3 kick. You're putting that defense back out there on the field. 1, 2, 3 kick. 1, 2, 3 kick. Hey, Kyle, do me a favor. Tell me how many, where were the Giants when it came to teams leading the league in 3 and outs? I love Kyle. Kyle's my statistician. I'd like to know where the Giants were in 3 and outs. You want to know shitty defenses? What do you think is the number one statistic that'll show you horrible defenses? You know what that is? Teams that lead the league in 3 and outs. I don't even know where the Giants are. Shit, the Giants may be the best team in the field at time of possession. They may be the best. I don't know. But I don't really look at that Giant defense and look at them and go, that was a great. You want to know shitty defenses? 3 and outs on offense. Okay? Thank you, RC. New York Giants were 4th worst team in the league and 3 and outs. Your defense has no chance. No chance at being good, even with Dexter Lawrence on it. You're 27th and 3 and outs. The chances of you having a good defense is impossible. That's why, again, right. Oh, yes, it is. 27th. The New York Giants were in 3 and outs. By the way, RC3, what were the Giants ranked in total defense? See if it has anything to do with it. RC3, thank you. Hey, RC3, in total defense, what were the Giants ranked? 26th. Interesting. So the New York Giants were 27th in 3 and outs offensively. and their defense was ranked 26th. I just pulled that out of my ass. Those stats always match up. 24th, okay. Those stats always match up. If your offense is leading the league in 3 and outs, okay, your defense has no chance of success. That's why the Giants' defense was pretty much ranked the same. You think that's a coincidence? Let's do this. Where were the Eagles in 3 and outs? Defense was number 1. I guarantee you the Eagles, and the least amount of 3 and outs in the league, I bet you they're top 5. It's really not that hard. See, I see the game different than most of you because those things are trends on what a team did this past season. That's how you could tell when a team's getting better. If a team's offense is struggling, no matter what your personnel is, the defense on the other side is going to have collateral damage because of the fact that they can't stay on the field. How many times did that defense last year for the Eagles put the Eagle offense in great field position? Almost the entire season, including the playoffs. I thought the guy said a lot yesterday. Okay? I missed the Super. If we did, we'll get it. I promise. I promise, brother. We always get them, Eduardo. Get this. Especially with Juju Lewis at Colorado. Thank you. Appreciate you guys always making sure we get those super chats. Okay? Always look for this one number. Any team that leads the league, your offense is 3 and outs, your defensive ranking is going to be right around that same number. Because by the end of the year, you're going to get worn out. There's 53 men on a roster, not 153. I don't care who you are. Some trends will always match up. And that is one of, here, well, I'm just telling you, that's one of my benchmarks. And how you could tell if a defense is coming around. The Giants, like I said, the Giants have Kayvon Thibodeau, Dexter Lawrence, and Brian Burns. 3 quality guys. Their defense is 26th, and they're 27th in 3 and outs on offense. I don't know what else to tell you. That is, to me, what I took away from Howie yesterday when he's talking about environmental issues with Adoree Jackson. Adoree Jackson couldn't get off the field. How do you know he sucks? Or the pass rusher guy they got from him. How do you know he sucks? They couldn't get off the fucking field. Do you understand what he's looking? Do you understand what he's looking at? I don't think people do. I don't know. So how would you account for 3 and outs? Panthers had 112 out of 223 third downs on defense. That's because their first and second down stunk. They must have had a ton of turnovers too. And remember this, they played with 4 quarterbacks last year. To Xander's point, and you guys saw it too, the Panthers aren't a bad unit. They just got bad coaching. I mean, they pushed the Eagles all the way to the 4th quarter, did they not? All right. Man, I'll tell you what, you listen to people covering the team, and they listen to that press conference, and I hear people say, I didn't hear anything. I heard a ton of shit. I mean, I thought Howie told you exactly what he thought of Jordan. Here, before I get Xander up, I thought he told you what he thought of Jordan Davis, what he thought of second chance guys. I thought Nick talking about having veterans in the building. I thought he told you exactly about the tight end position. You're going by committee. How do you not read it that way? Nick goes, hey, and you got the guy in the building now. You got the guy who can do it all, block and catch. And you know what he said? We don't have to have a one guy fit all. I'm like, all right. I think he's talking money. All right. Without further ado, let's hear what he thought. And let me hear what he thought he heard Nick Sirianni and Howie Roseman say. By the way, just real quick, it's April 16th. Where's that mega contract for Nicky? Where's that baby, man? 25-5 a year. Greatest coach in the history of the Eagles. Where the hell is this deal? Let's bring our boy in now. Xander Krause.
What's up, Big Sills? How you doing, brother?
Where's the big Nick contract?
I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on. Is that thing coming or is it not coming? Yeah, I don't know where this Nick deal is, but they'll get it done. I'm wondering if they don't make it, if it happens and we don't hear about it. I know people think that they'll make it public, and the Eagles do like to make things like that public, especially if they make him the highest paid coach in the NFL. But if they don't, and he gets 15 or 16 million, and he's middle of the pack, maybe that thing flies under the radar and you get a report in June that, oh, Nick signed his extension a couple months back. It wouldn't surprise me if it was already done. I'm not going to lie.
And because, if it was the highest paid, they'd be out there too.
That's what I mean. If it was the highest paid, it would already be out. Yeah. I don't know for sure. I mean, we'll see.
I don't either.
Maybe we won't say. I don't know. At the end of the day, I think he's gonna be back there, so I'm not worried about it.
So what'd you take away from Nick and would you? I don't know if you were listening or whatever, but
yeah, I was. I mean, I was on your show, so I had to leave out of there a little early. I never went back and re-listened to it. I had a busy night, but
no, I'm talking about what I just said about the takeaway of Nick and with Howie. Did you hear kind of some of the things that I said? What were your takeaways? Let me get that first. What were your takeaways from those guys?
I mean, one of my takeaways is that I think trading up is just as likely as trading down in this draft. A lot of people have been talking about trading down, but in a draft where everybody in the top 10 wants to trade down and then everybody else is kind of playing in the middle and waiting for those people, there's going to be a stalemate. So with the Eagles at 32, I could see them being one of the teams that will be stalemated out of trading back because everybody before them is going to try and trade back. Like, think about it. There's going to be at least 12 teams in the 31 before the Eagles that attempt to trade back. So any of the deals that are out there to be had to trade back might be off the table. And I think the Eagles are going to maybe think about going up and getting one of their guys on the defensive line if they like him enough. But I wouldn't rule that out at all. I mean, Howie, talked glowingly about the interior of the D-line. He talked about how there's certainly not 32 first-round grades in this draft. He also talked about how the roster is young and ready to win and going to get expensive. So that tells me, hey, we need some young contributors. Well, do you get a better chance of getting a young contributor at 23 or 40? I think 23. So I wouldn't surprise me at all if they traded up in this draft. I know it's unconventional. It doesn't seem to be what people think they're going to do, but I wouldn't rule it out yet.
Well, my takeaways might be a little different here. I heard him say that there's probably 8 guys that have a first-round value, and he talked about value picks and what this draft really has. What's the value of moving up in the draft if you don't have a first-round grade on somebody? That's overdrafting someone.
Well, that's why
it's not a value pick.
And he said he didn't have 32. So if he has 15 and one falls to 20, that's what I'm talking about, right? That's what I'm talking about.
And that could happen because
that's my trade. I'm not just trading up for the sake of trading up, and taking someone at 24. Your guy has to fall. But I think they're gonna. I could see it. Rolla checks in. Rolla says Xander has little faith in Roseman, for Christ's sake.
No, but
Rolla, that is not true at all. I've been parading Howie Roseman for the last 4 months.
He said it. He said it yesterday when he was looking at. He wants him at 32. You have to have value and the talent match up. When you're going after a first-round pick, you have to look at value and talent. And does that value match the talent at the pick in the first round? Those were quotes by him. He told you, I thought he was telling you a lot yesterday that at 32, I don't believe he thinks that there's a pick down there at 32 that's worthy of a first-round pick.
I don't either, which is why I took from it straight up or get the hell out.
That's
and
right.
I don't think the team is in a position to trade too far out. Like, I think you need a player, a good caliber player that can start in year one, not a guy that plays half the season. I'm talking about a guy that you feel good about starting week one, like you did with Quinyon Mitchell. You know, you got to get a guy, and I don't think that happens later in the second round. So I think they might trade up. And no, I'm not doubting them at all, Rolo. I see what you're saying. I'm not doubting them at all, though.
I don't see what they're saying. Some people in here are idiots.
Well, I mean, I think there's also a level of Eagles fans that have, and I'm not criticizing them for it, but like, they act like this is we're never going to have a missed pick ever again because he's had a good 4-year run. I think they've got the set. I think they have it figured out enough that they're not going to have an egregious miss like a Rager or a Dillard ever again. But to sit here and act like, oh, because they're a Super Bowl team last year, like they'll never make another mistake, I think that's a little bit naive. I mean, I'm not going to go down that road.
How about this one here, which kind of was, here's Nick Sirianni. The tight end position. You know, profiling a tight end position, you know, one guy doesn't have to fit all. Well, you got a guy who fits all. And you're moving off him. I mean, to me, that was a quote I took away that they're going to run that position by committee.
Yeah, me too.
That was a by committee comment, wasn't it?
I don't know. It kind of seems like that. I'm also wondering if this stalemate's more coming from Goddard's side, because I don't think the Eagles really want to move off of him. Well, tell me why they at every other position, from linebacker to safety to corner, every other position, Howie Roseman has brought in guys for the future that have been stashed on the roster. But the tight end position, Howie has just 100% without a shadow of a doubt neglected. I'm sorry. I'm not buying that. So my question is, did it reach a stalemate? Dallas wants that third, or wants maybe a 3 or 4 year deal to cash in his last time. And Howie's like, yo, bro, I'm going to give you 2 years, but I'm not giving you 4 years. You know, and I think I wonder if that's where the stalemate's coming in on it. But I don't know. It does look like Goddard's going to be gone, and maybe the Eagles now have to figure out how to make do with what they've done to this point. The other thing that's interesting is it was reported today the last top 30 visit. Now, we didn't hear of all names, but we heard about 22 or 23, maybe even 24 of the 30. Not one tight end there. Like, are they thinking about a trade? Are they like
committee?
And you think the committee's Calcaterra, Bryant, and Granson?
I think it's Bryant. I think it's Calcaterra, and I think it's a dude in the draft.
Well, they paid Granson $400,000 more than they paid Bryant.
How much is the total deal worth a year?
1.6 to 1.2.
Shit, that's where they're going, dude.
I know, but I'm just saying, I don't think Granson's going to be left out of it. They might already have their committee,
sure.
And that's why they're not drafting a tight end.
Nick told you yesterday that you don't have to have a one guy fit all. They basically told you what they're doing yesterday. I mean, how did anybody not come away from that hearing? Wait a minute. Have you not had exceptional? I'm not hollering at you, Tanner, but have you not had exceptional?
Don't be John McMullen and Teeter. You can holler. If you got to holler, then holler. Say it with your chest.
Don't you agree that you've had great tight end play for 25 years by one dude, basically?
Brent Selleck, Zach Ertz, more than one dude, but yeah.
Okay. All of a sudden now, 25? Well, you don't have to have one guy fit all. I mean, I don't know, man. That's a completely different philosophy on what you're looking at that position for the guy. How does that not sound like committee to you?
No, it does. It does sound like committee to me. I mean, we'll see. We'll see what they end up doing. It is interesting that I haven't heard of any visits or all about anything.
So they haven't brought anybody in. And by the way, I heard you say that. I looked it up again. Last 3 drafts, top 3 players in every single of the last 3 drafts all had visits to Philadelphia.
See, I thought someone told me that Quinion wasn't a visit.
He was
But
a
Cooper
visit.
was. He was?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Yeah, pretty impressive. Pretty good.
How about this one here? Internal defensive pressure is key. This is Howie Roseman talking. Well, I'll tell you what. Internal defensive tackles are important. And internal pressure is the key to success. Doesn't that tell you right there? They're moving on from Jordan Davis.
Well, it's funny you had that takeaway because I had the same takeaway, and I brought it up this morning, and John just said, "Oh, well, he was asked specifically about the D line. If he was asked about edge, he would have said the same thing. If he was asked about another position, he would have spoke." And I'm like, I didn't really see that at all. He clearly talked about how important interior the defensive line is, specifically the pressure you can get on quarterbacks.
He could have dropped in run stopping. He did.
Yeah, he didn't. He talked about pressure on the quarterback from the interior, and he knows he lost Milton. Again, this is why I'm saying don't rule out trading up. A guy like Derek Harmon, a guy like Walter Nolan, I think those are guys that Howie would be willing to trade to 22, 23, 24 for. I don't know if they're full. I don't even know how the Eagles are grading those guys, to be honest. I don't think either of them were scheduled on a visit, or at least we didn't know about it. But I wouldn't surprise me if they went up there and got an interior defensive lineman, or maybe one falls at 32, but that's a risky game to play.
Defensive tackle market is expensive.
Very. Howie said that yesterday.
Howie said.
Howie said that yesterday.
Howie said that yesterday. So if they're going to do anything, Xander, they're going to go into the draft and they're going to find that guy in the draft.
That's my point, though, Sills, about why I say I like Malachi Starks, but pump the brakes, because you don't hear Howie saying, yeah, the safety market's expensive. You don't hear it. He says defensive tackle market's expensive, edge market's expensive. Like the expensive markets on the free agency market are where you're going to see Howie try and prioritize in the draft, especially early, because you're getting valuable contracts and good players. I mean, that's my one thing about Malachi. And by the way, I've been watching Malachi's tape. That kid can play. That kid is one of those players that doesn't jump off the page athletically at you, but he's in the right position all the time. He's fundamental. He's got great instinct. He's great in coverage. He's around the ball all the time, and his football IQ, you can tell, is through the roof. So he's one of those dudes that looks, I think he'll translate very well to the NFL, but I just don't think the Eagles will draft him.
Did you get when I was talking about, and this is the experience thing, I think they addressed experience in your defense. And I think this is a Vic comment. And I tried to show these assholes, some of the assholes in here, that when you have a tape, and that tape that I played was not about kissing my ass. It was about listening to guys who had played the position. And you had guys in the building like Fletcher Cox and Jason Kelsey. It's one thing to draw pull-ups, Xander. It's another thing to have the guy in the building to show you how to execute the play in the game, that you don't really have those guys in the building right now on that side of the ball. So don't you think that that's a tough, when you're sitting next to Jason Kelsey, or you're sitting next to Fletcher Cox, or you're sitting next to the guys that can pass the torch down to these guys, and you're sitting there. I'll give you an example. I'm sitting next to Ed Too Tall Jones, Randy White, in the Cowboy locker room. We're watching game film, and he goes like this, and I go, so when you play that 3 technique like that, are you trying to get your head on the outside? He goes, well, I'll cheat a little bit with my left foot, and I'll get a little wider, especially if the guy's got struggling with his feet and he's not real good laterally. Or what I'll do is I'll tighten up on a guy who's really powerful, so that'll help you make sure he doesn't get a running start on you, trying to get a scoop and slip on you. And I'll go, I see it. And so when you're sitting there, you have that guy showing you that, because it's one thing for Vic to point it out. It's another thing for Fletcher to go, you don't really have to go that deep. You could take a flatter step and get away with it because he's not a real quick guy. That kind of conversation is the difference between making a play and sometimes not making a play. Do you have guys like that in the building?
I think we have enough of them. I mean, I hear what you're saying. There's no doubt about it, but I do think we still have a lot of good guys for that around this locker room. I mean, here's the other reality of the season. And again, there's going to be fans who believe in every one of them. There's going to be people like Sills and McMullen who don't believe in either of them until they see it. But We are relying on a large contingency of I don't knows this year. That's a fact. Sidney Brown, Keely Ringo, Mora Wajomo, Thomas Booker. I mean, you're even counting on Jeremiah Trotter Jr. early in the year. Like, if these dudes don't pan out, it's going to be a tough year. I do think some of them are going to pan out. We've had pretty good success with those guys panning out, but that's a reality coming into the season. And I don't think there's anything you can do about that until you play some games and you know what you have in those players. Remember Vic last year? I'll tell you what I got in week 12. I kind of feel like you can say the same thing this year, can't you? I'll tell you what I got in week 12, man.
Yeah, no. That's again, I took a lot from Howie talking about value. He really made it a point that if the player at 32 doesn't have the first round value and he doesn't see a draft this year where there's a ton of dudes, to me, I'm going to tell you what the value pick is right now at 32 of all the guys in the draft. What do you think is the one value pick at 32?
Value pick? It's got to be an edge, most likely. Edge or defensive tackle. I like Nolan. I like Harmon. I like Pierce. I like Ezeraku.
Me, it's Malachi Starks.
See, how is that value, Sills?
Because he's the best player at the need, and I think he's just because it's safety. You're looking at the safety on your football team in the last 2 Super Bowl appearances was instrumental in that defense being
but value is not the right word for that.
It is because he's the best player at that position, and he'll be an impact player for you than the 4th defensive edge rusher.
That's I know, but the problem is that
Malachi's valued as a first rounder.
You can get an impact safety for $8 million.
Wait, Malachi is valued as a first rounder.
I know that. I don't want anybody to think
there's 4 edge rushers that are valued.
He's going to be a stud.
I think there's 3 edge rushers in the draft that are valued as a first round pick.
Yeah, and you just saw mediocre edge rushers get $20 million a year. That's the problem.
I don't think these guys look. I think that Nolan Smith and Jalix Hunt. I'll tell you this. Do I look at the guy from BC and go, would I take him over Jalix Hunt right now?
No, you're missing what I'm arguing. I agree with you.
I don't see the value in these
Starks
guys.
Is a surefire NFL talent. There's no doubt.
I don't see the value in this draft with these guys.
He's a safer pick than all those guys. I agree with you on that.
Oh, yeah.
Malachi, I agree with you on that. He's going to be a stud in the NFL. There's no doubt about it.
Aren't you trying to defuse failure?
You are trying to diffuse failure, but you're also trying to build a roster within the cap. Like, I can get a valuable safety for $8 million. I cannot get a valuable edge for $8 million.
$5 million, 5 years. You got the guy at $1.5 million. I mean, what do you talk? Where that is the he's a rookie deal.
Wait a second. All right? You got him 5 years at $1.5 million. Wouldn't you rather have an edge that's getting production at $1.5 million?
This edge rushing group, I don't know. I get my edge in the second round.
So you're all right. Looking. I don't disagree with you, but you're more saying
I'm taking Howie's words on what
you're more saying that you believe in that player so much more that you wouldn't even take the chance on an edge because you're down there too far to get the impact one.
Because the second rounder is going to be more of a value. I'm taking Howie's words. Okay. Now, if there's to your point, if he has I thought he walked back that Mike Green comment.
Yeah, he did walk that back. And by the way, that was Mike Sealski. Mike Sealski's always asked good questions like that. He pushed him on it, and it was right to push him on it.
And he walked it back, did he not? Because everybody's innocent until proven guilty.
Exactly.
Up with well, no, I'm in the world of podcasting, and I'm taking one word, and they're
that was a red herring. That's what that was. That's exactly what that was. A big red herring. Hey, look over there. No, yeah, you're right about that for sure. He did walk it back on Mike Green. Boy, if Mike Green fell.
Oh, I would grab that.
Mike Green.
I think it's Abdul Carter, him, and Pierce.
Yeah, I like Mike Green.
Those are the 3 edge rushers that I truly like. The kid from Georgia, yeah, I'll be all right with that because those Georgia kids have all panned out, it seems. The rest of the BC kid, let me ask you this. You and I cover college football. Do you remember that guy at Boston College at all during the last 3 years?
Who, Ezeraku? I actually do because I had a buddy who went to BC and I watched him a little bit, but he played at BC. I mean, I didn't watch him every Saturday. That's for sure. Well, Malachi Starks, I watched every Saturday.
I watched the ACC because of Miami.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, and I vote on the all ACC teams. I did vote him. I was like, yeah, I saw him against UM. He was an impact guy against the Canes. Canes have a pretty good offensive tackle that's going to go in the top 5 picks this coming year. That Francis kid's going to go in the top 5 picks. He's going to be a Panay Sewell kid. I don't know, man. I just heard Howie talking about value, and it really stuck in my mind and how he doesn't think that 32 pick right now. There's a player in the draft that is the 32nd pick, in his opinion, that's worthy of selecting. Did you not take that away?
I agree. Malachi would be worth it. I'm not saying that. This idiot.
That's a value pick.
You take the best player. What's a bigger number, dumbass? 30 or 8? If you want max value, you're taking an edge rusher. It's not complicated. I'm not overcomplicating it. I see what Sills is saying, though. He is saying Malachi has a much better chance to be a proven player from year 1. I agree with that 100%. I'm not disputing that.
And he's the best player in that group.
I agree. I think
it's
Malachi Starks will be one of the better players in the draft.
Watch this, Xander. Doesn't it correct all the boxes? You have a need. He's the best player in the group. And he's a first-round value, and he's been projected as a first. That guy's not. Do you agree? He is not going in the first round.
Oh, he's going. Malachi?
He's going in the first round.
By the way, I like him head and shoulders above Nick Emenwari.
Oh, by far.
I watched that tape, and I was not impressed.
I'm not either.
No. In fact, I almost left soured.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Missed
tackles, blown coverages, out of position, no instinct. He's relying 100% on athleticism. That's what he's doing.
Let me throw this last one here at you here on what those guys talked about yesterday. Did you not get when he said second chance guys and how they were evaluated? And they were high selections. And then you look at the 2 giant guys, and I used this the 2 giant guys, and I didn't even know this. And, when you talk about Adoree Jackson and you talk about the edge rusher, didn't you find it ironic when – and I didn't even know it, but I knew they'd be around because that's one of the metrics I use. If your offense sucks so bad and you're down there at 27 and you're one of the worst teams in the league in 3 and outs, your defense, I don't care if you've got Jalen Carter, Brian Dawkins, I don't care who you are. Remember when the Patriots had the 5th best defense in the NFL and they won 5 games? Why was that? Because the offense had too many freaking 3 and outs, and their record proved that they were 5-win team under Belichick's last year. The Giants last year were 27th or 26th in defense, 27th in 3 and outs. You have no shot. So I took away Howie going, look at the environment those players are playing in. To your boy up in New England, he had 10 sacks one year. What happened the following year? The environment changes. Jared Mayo got the job. Belichick was out. They fired the entire coaching staff. So do you see, he kind of gave you an insight in how he looks at environment. Would the environment be better for Joshua Uche to be in Philly compared to being in New England? Yes. By the way, that's a no-brainer. So his idea is we're going to change the kid's room. We're going to give the kid an opportunity to succeed here where maybe the other place didn't give it to him. That's how he looks at it. How he really respects other – you know what that told me? How he respects other people's front offices and how they evaluate talent by giving these second guys chances. The coaching may not have matched up. Xander, how many times have you seen it? 23, the coaching didn't match up in Philadelphia. You have to have the good coaches in the building too. That's how he sees these second chance guys. Do you agree?
I agree. Yeah, no doubt about it. And I think he's right about that to a large extent.
I think he's 100% right about that.
Yeah, I think he's right about that. So, this obviously is a good organization in terms of the locker room, in terms of all of those things. And when you bring a player to a good place, yeah, you give him a better chance to thrive. And, the biggest part about that, though, is the coaching. You're playing with Vic Fangio. Look at what he was able to do last year with guys like Quinion and Cooper, rookies coming into the league. Look at what he was able to do with basically everybody but Bryce Hall. Basically everybody but Bryce Huff got better last year. So I don't know what happened to that guy, but everybody else got better. And I think the thing I like about Uche is I think he fits more of the role that Vic had success with, which was Nolan Smith. Let's be real. You know, he was better with Nolan Smith. He made Nolan Smith a lot better. He didn't make Bryce Huff better, you know? So that's where I'm like, I kind of like Uche from that perspective, but you're right about, I mean, look, that's a big part of why, you know, the Eagles are able to do what they do. You know, they're able to bring in Jalen Carter at 9 and not worry about it like the Bears were, because they feel like their locker room, their environment, their camaraderie, their team, everything, the franchise, the organization is built to mold men the right way, you know, and that's a big part of it. That's a big part of, you know, not just developing players, but also putting a winning football team on the field week in and week out.
Did you see the 49ers invited James Pearson today? They invited him in, him on the other side of Nick Bosa. That might look pretty interesting, man. Having him on the other. I think he's a 10. I told Clint Hurt, dude. I told Clint, I think that guy is probably, again, if you're not going to get Abdul Carter and the kid Mike Green, probably, you're going to look at, in my opinion, you're probably looking at him being the best edge rusher to be available down there at 32. Do you not agree?
You're talking about Pierce, right?
Pierce.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. There's some people that don't like Pierce. You know, he does rely on just being better than everybody around him right now. In his college career, he was excellent. I mean, he just destroyed people in the SEC. He ran right around players to get sacks, you know, and he's been a good player for a long time. Now, some people brought up character concerns. I'm not going to lie. I didn't see much on that. I don't know what it's about.
I haven't seen. Maybe there is. I haven't seen that.
But I did see something. You know, somebody said, "Oh, he's got character concerns." So I don't know. I don't know exactly what it is. The Eagles will do their homework though on that, and I do like him a lot. I mean, he's one of those dudes, Sills, that you turn on the game tape and you're like, "All right, yeah, this guy can play." You know. But you talked about a little bit ago where you got to learn a second move. You got to learn pursuit. You got to learn all those things in the NFL, and I do think Pierce is going to have to learn that. And for that reason, I don't know if he's going to be a year one contributor. I think he'll contribute. I don't know if he's going to be a year one impact player. You know, and the thing about that is it's funny, you know, it would add another feather in your cap so take Malachi, right? I mean, that would make sense because of that. But I do think
he would start.
I'd be pretty happy there's 3 guys I'd be happy with. James Pierce, Walter Nolan, and Derek Harmon. Those are 3 guys that I really like. I think the Eagles will be happy with.
Supers will be right at the end of the segment here. I want to read something here to you, too. We brought it up yesterday. So, Kyler Gordon, cornerback for the Bears, is now the highest paid slot. Okay? He signed a 3-year, $40 million deal with $31 million guaranteed. If I'm Cooper DeJean, I am going to go like this to my agent. I'm out of Philly. I'm playing corner. Dude, $12 million versus 30. Hey, you guy, man, I'm telling you. Okay, that guy is the highest paid slot corner, makes $12 million a year. Bro, the highest paid corner makes north of 30.
I know. No, I'm with you on this. You know, we got a funny comment the other day, I guess, after we talked about this, and someone was like, "You guys are effing idiots," all this shit about DeJean moving outside. I'm like, all right, bro. If someone told you can make $50 million or $100 million, depending on what you do, and you are capable of doing both, wouldn't you choose the $100 million? I mean, come on, man. But look, I don't know. The interesting part about it is Vic did say he wants to keep him in the slot. So Vic is the type of dude that's going to be like, just like he's like, I don't care how much you make. He's probably like, I don't care how much you want to make. This is where you're needed in my defense.
No, I think it's different. I think the Eagles tell you one thing and they're doing another. I think they don't believe he can play the corner, or they would. Come on, man.
You think
what's more valuable to you?
Wait. You think they don't think
or
Cooper
corner?
Can play the corner?
What?
You don't think they think Cooper can play it?
Nope. Or they would move him.
He can play it. There's no doubt he can play it, man.
Well, dude,
are you kidding me?
Look at the value in the contracts alone on what people value in the league more, corner or slot corner. Salaries, remember, Xander, you and I know this. You and I believe in paychecks speak louder than words. Do they not?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. You're telling me that a guy making $12 million in the slot is the highest paid guy in the league. The guy playing on the numbers, making $30+ million. Well,
You're right.
The Eagles believe he can play out there. Well, fuck. Either that, you're hosing the kid, or you don't. There's two ways, Xander. You either believe the kid can, or you're hosing the kid. Which is it?
Right. It's a fair point. Fair point. We just talked about value, right? If you already have your $30 million corner on a rookie deal, put him out there if he's so good. But I don't know. I do think Vic changes it a little bit because the style of player that Cooper is also thrives in the slot. Not many corners have that.
I think he's great there.
He's great. Do you think he could play outside corner?
I think it's a risk to put him out there and see if he can.
I think he would be a top 5 outside corner almost immediately.
I'm thinking more with you, but I don't think the Eagles believe that. Wait a minute. So you think he could be a top 5 corner in the league and they're keeping him in the slot?
I know. It doesn't sound.
You're
it doesn't
contradicting yourself.
Yeah, I know. Well,
right?
That's what I think of him. Maybe the Eagles don't.
No.
Maybe you're right.
Well, they don't think of him that way.
No,
that's my point.
I just think that dude is a fucking beast, man. Some dudes, they just know.
I told you he's my favorite rookie of this last year. I think
you've been saying that. You said that, by the way, after either week 4 or week 5, one of his first games starting. Minnesota. And everybody got so mad at you on the post game.
Minnesota.
You said you think you like him better than Quinyon Mitchell, and everybody had a freaking aneurysm. We like him, but he's not Quinyon. I do think they're comparable. I think they're both very, very good. I think Cooper has the higher upside just because he's just unreal athletically, and he's got instinct. He's got that raw, natural instinct. He knows how to play the game.
And right here, RC3 points out what he really wants to do. Cooper wants to play the corner.
Yeah, he was at what's his name? Defensive back camp too. Ryan Clark's, is it or something? Yeah,
sure. Hey, dude, the Eagles don't believe he can play corner.
Oh, bullshit. Let's see. If they trot him out in the slot, then I'll say there's credence. But if they don't, you're going to have to eat your words. So how can you make that proclamation yet? They had Slay last year. They weren't going to put him outside last year.
Because right now, Vic Fangio told you he wants to keep him in the slot.
Well, that's right now.
Oh, what will change? What will change that?
Showing up to camp. Showing up to camp with Keely Ringo. That's what will change it.
Oh,
he's going to walk into camp and say, "Wait a second. Last year I had Darius Slay."
I think this is something to keep an eye on. Wait a minute. So they get to OTAs, and then they get to training camp, and they feel Keely Ringo ain't the guy. You think they trot Cooper DeJean out there and put him in the corner out there? You ain't trading for a guy, and you're not drafting a guy.
Wait a second. Is this more on their evaluation of Cooper or on their evaluation of Keely? Because if you think about it, the best case scenario for the Eagles defense overall would be for Keely Ringo to be good at cornerback too. It would be, because then you can keep Cooper at the slot and have a stacked defense.
Why would you? So you bring in a Dory Jackson for a security blanket just in case.
You need a swing guy like you had last year in Isaiah.
Oh, that's right. That's correct. I forgot about that. That's right. Okay, so a Dory would be my swing because he's got experience.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. They're not sold on Keely Ringo.
I don't think so either, but we'll see what
they're going to do. How many corners have you brought in?
You brought in Maxwell Hairston. We brought in what's the other? I have a couple of them written down here. I'm gonna look.
Wait a minute. Wait, this is going to tell you guys. Hey, everyone, I want you to listen to this. How many cornerbacks have they brought in so far on the visit?
Trey Amos. They brought in Trey Amos. They brought in Maxwell Hairston, I really like him. That's that 4-2 guy, Kentucky. Right. And then they brought in Jacob Parrish, who's a slot guy.
Okay. So you brought in like around,
I think there was 4. I think there was a couple more. Jacob Parrish is one I saw.
Actually, Hairston. 5 guys they brought in. They signed a free agent in Dory Jackson. So you got 6 dudes and Keely Ringo, and you're keeping Cooper DeJean in the slot? You don't believe Cooper DeJean can play corner.
Well, that's not. I'm not ready
You
to go
brought
there
7
yet.
guys in.
If it's week 7 and they haven't moved him outside, then I'll agree with you.
All right. You're surely doing. They're doing a lot of work in the offseason here to find a corner.
Yeah, but still, here's the
Don't
problem.
they have him in the building?
If you move Cooper to the outside, you're just opening up a new hole at slot.
Okay. Well,
So they don't have the body in the room to replace the slot guy, but they do have a body at corner. I'm not saying it's going to work.
What do you think is harder to replace? A slot corner or a corner?
I don't know. What do you think?
I think it's corner. Oh, my God. Replacing Slay is going to be more difficult than you think. I think Slay will be the hardest position to fill of any of the lost dudes. Look at a slot. Get this. Pat goes, it's harder to find a slot when the guy makes $12 million a year.
No, but the slot is a type of player. Like, not every cornerback that can play the slot.
Nobody values that slot.
Really? A couple guys just got $50 million.
A couple guys just got 100.
So they value it half. They value it half, I guess.
Hey, I agree with you. Hey, slot is a nice. One guy get you hear Xander. Xander knows this is blasphemy in his life. One guy got 50, the other guy got 150. And Xander's going, well, all right.
If I were Cooper DeJean, I would send a nice letter to Howie and say, if you think I'm lining up at slot corner next year, you are outside your God blessed mind.
If they go to camp and these other guys bomb, I would go walk right in that room and go like this. That's my job. Put Sidney in there. Put someone else in there. Get another dude in there. Don't fucking put me in there. Come on, man. Why are they looking so diligently at other dudes when they may have the guy? Wouldn't you go like this? And the Eagles are known for this. Jacoby Dean's starting. Why wouldn't they just go Cooper starting at right corner? They're not even entertaining it.
I'm a Sean. If you prioritize D-line in the draft, it makes the corner's job easier. That's what I'm saying. So where's the nerd in here who was crying because I said draft a defensive lineman over a safety? Fucking go back to the trenches. Why were we a great team last year? Why have we been a great organization for 10 years? Because we've had great trench play. We just lost 3 defensive linemen. 3.
So didn't Howie pay 2 years ago both corners north of $15 million?
Yeah, James and Slay.
Okay. There's a value there to him in that position.
Cornerback is obviously still a valuable position.
Well, that's my
point. Your top 2 picks last year on corners.
Oh, well, no. One guy's not playing corner. He's playing more of a safety. That slot corner is more of a safety.
Slot is still a cornerback.
Oh, yeah. Well, Vic doesn't look at it that way.
No, it's a corner.
Oh,
it's still a corner.
It's not a corner. It's more of a safety position.
All
and
right.
Vic says that was where Vic fan. All right,
It's a glorified safety. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah.
It's a safety close to the
glorified safety. Here. Well, the paycheck says it. If those guys were more corners, dude, that salary would be up there more like corners. At least in the middle. Holy shit, man. 12 million, 32 million. I don't know. Hey, I know I went to Miami.
That's why, it's the same thing. Here's the funniest part about this segment is that we started on the defensive line, and you told me draft the safety, which I'm not conflating. I know what you're saying. He's a surefire guy compared to a chance at Ezeraku or Pierce or whatever, one of those guys. But you said I'm taking the player. It's the same thing here, right? It's the same thing here. Now you're telling me to put him at corner because of the value, because it's $32 million. Well, with that logic, why aren't you drafting the D lineman?
No, I don't think they think he's a corner. Remember? We'll find out. I don't think they're ever going to move him to corner.
Cooper DeJean could do anything on the football field on the defensive side.
Okay, well, that's not in their eyes. As of right now, April 16th, baby. Not right
Cooper
now.
DeJean could be a cornerback. He could be a slot. He could be a strong safety. He could be a free safety. He could play all the positions in the secondary.
Half the money. I got it. All right.
Not outside corner. That's where he's going to end up. Watch.
Okay. No way. You got the D coordinator coming out going,
He ain't gonna be no Jason Sehorn either. All right.
Yeah.
He's gonna be the best white cornerback to ever grace the NFL, baby.
Okay,
Fucking
well,
Cooper Shiesty.
he's going to be sitting in that white boy position, a slot corner.
How
about
about a
this
white
one?
boy position? Stop.
Hey, let me ask
That ain't
this.
a white boy position either.
Let me ask you. No, there's no white boy positions in the back.
No, there's not, especially on defense.
Let me ask you this last question here. So, do you believe the owner of the Philadelphia Eagles thinks that Howie Roseman is replaceable?
No.
So
Why
wait a
would you
minute.
think that?
I'm going to tell you. Your boy, every fucking morning on Birds 365, tells me that Howie Roseman is who Howie Roseman is because the owner allows him to take a piss when he tells him to. He allows him to give the money up front. He allows him to do the things that he does financially in these contracts. Do you think Howie could go to Carolina and do the same thing? Do you think he could go to the Jets and do the same thing? Do you think he could go to Tennessee and do the same thing? No way. Why? Because those owners are buffoons.
Okay.
They don't get it.
And
Okay?
the same thing on the inverse. If you think that that another GM is going to come in here and spend your money as
Lori's won.
effectively as Roseman did, you're mistaken. You got
What
to
did
be
he-
smart enough to know what you don't know. And
Jeffrey
Jeffrey Lurie
Lurie
to this point has been.
Has won without him.
Hmm?
Jeffrey Lurie built this organization without him. He grew in Jeffrey Lurie's organization.
He won two Super Bowls.
Hold on. He grew in it. Joe Banner and Andy Reid and Jeffrey set the blueprint and the template. And Howie, no question, Lurie saw the value in paying the guys, making sure that cap was more balanced. He saw that. Bro, that owner allows that guy. So wait a minute. You really believe that Jeffrey Lurie thinks that there's not he's not replaceable?
I agree. I think he's not replaceable. I think
I
Howie
do
Roseman.
too.
I
I
think
do
he's the
too.
most important part of the Eagles.
Do you think that owner believes he's replaceable?
I don't. I answered your question. I don't think he thinks he's replaceable. I don't.
I think that owner believes that he's made hires. He hired him. He kept him. He's made all the right
Lurie does
decisions.
deserve some of the credit. I'm not saying Lurie doesn't deserve any credit.
I mean,
But just because you say to somebody, I'm going to give you money to shell up front, that doesn't mean everybody's going to
so
use
you're
your money
giving
the right way.
you're giving Howie Roseman more credit for winning the Super Bowls than the owner.
Yeah, because it's harder to assemble a good team than pay people if you're loaded. I'm not saying the owner doesn't matter. He obviously matters. But you can go to any place. Jeffrey Lurie could call up Dan Sileo and say, hey, work my contracts. I got the biggest bag of money in the world. You're not going to do as good of a job as Roseman.
Name me one owner that hasn't won multiple Super Bowls that was not a great owner and replaced multiple people and knew how to do it. I mean,
perfect example. So let answer this, Sills. Are you saying Joe Schoen would do in Philly what Howie does because of Lurie?
Joe Schoen wouldn't be hired by Jeffrey Lurie because
Answer
Joe
the
Schoen both
Answer the question. Thanks,
answering
Ryder.
it. No, because he would not hire him because you know why? He doesn't have and wasn't raised inside the organization. Do you not notice inside the Eagle organization, the front office guys are there over 30 years? There's not a coach in your coaching staff that's been in the Eagles outside of Stoutland more than 5. Everybody else has been there less than 5 years. Do you understand that? That the front office guys, the analytics guys, they're 18, 20 years. All those guys are there for a reason because the owner has put those players and those people in places. You know, Andrew Barry, Joe Douglas, all of those guys that are all spread out, the guy in Pittsburgh, that are all spread out throughout the league. Those guys all came from that organization. Anybody who ever is going to be the GM of the Eagles will be raised in that. They'll never hire from outside another general manager ever again. That will not happen.
And we should all rue the day that Jeffrey Lurie decides that he knows more than Roseman.
He's done it before.
Okay, good. Let's see what he does. Last time he did it and he gave all the personnel power to Chip Kelly. He threw him out, fired him in 2 years, and came back to Howie and said, I need you to take control of this thing again.
He still has a resume where he's done that.
And it didn't work out.
Well, again, it didn't work out because the guy's mentality wasn't right. But that guy didn't make all shitty moves.
No, he didn't at all. He's the reason Lane Johnson's here. I'm not saying he made all shitty moves, but he didn't handle personnel the right way. How he handles the personnel. That's what I'm saying. You're not wrong that Jeffrey Lurie's system allows Howie to thrive. But just creating that system is not enough to actually do the work of thriving. Howie has built the system that allows them to make right decisions week in and week out. You can give me unlimited money, but if I choose to pay Javon Hargrave with it instead of drafting Jalen Carter with it, I made a bad decision.
Okay, Howie Roseman made a bad decision on Jalen Reagor. And the owner made a bad decision on Chip Kelly.
That was Doug's decision, by the way.
What?
Doug Peterson drafted Jalen.
Okay. Reagor. Andre Dillard, pick a shitty
Andre Dillard. I'm not saying it. Howie still deserves blame for it. I'm just saying.
No. I'm saying the owner also has made poor hires. Brian Johnson.
Yeah.
Sean Desai. It all goes hand in hand. I think that owner, I'll tell you what, man. I know Angelo hates him. I don't. I think that guy, I think he really loves Philly, and I think he really loves to win. What?
Jeffrey Lurie? Bro.
I'm not ripping Howie on that. I'm ripping that guy's been given a really good runway to do a lot of good things.
I figured it out thanks to Abram. Thank you, brother. It's because he's a Gator. You will find anything, any angle, so you can say this ain't all Howie Roseman. This is Howie Roseman's team. This is Howie Roseman's city as far as.
And why are you paying Nick $25 million?
You're not going to have a coach now?
Jesus Christ. This is Howie. Howie did this. Howie did that. And then you're going to turn around and pay Nick Sirianni $25 million.
Why did the Eagles go to the Super Bowl 2 times in 3 years? We just debated this with Nick Sirianni.
Because of Howie.
Yeah, because he assembled a good team, right?
All right.
So you think Nick and Lurie can do that without the greatness of Howie Roseman?
Oh, I think Nick's the easiest guy in the building to replace.
No, I don't disagree with that if you're talking about which one of the three.
All right, let's get to these supers. I got Jay Gruden coming up.
All right. Ask Jay Gruden what he thinks of Roseman. I'm curious to hear.
Actually, I'll ask him that. Roseman, and I'm going to ask
him. What's up, my boy? Hope you're doing
well.
I'm
going to ask him about Shador. Get his thoughts on Shador. He drafted RG3.
I thought you said some better things about Shador as knocks on him than anybody else. You know, I hear a lot of like bullshit on him, and it's partly pissed me off because I'm like, I don't want to hear bullshit or your small man syndrome opinions about his big personality. I thought you brought up some actual valid things that can take away from what you'll be as an NFL player today. Riding the bench says, Vic, def scheme, safety friendly, right? Isn't that why it's easy to plug and play safety versus getting an impact D-line? Probably why safety isn't valued by the organization. Yeah, and the dumbass in the chat who said, let Howie handle the cap, who can't seem to figure out that $30 million is more than $8 million. They proved it to you last year riding the bench. They picked up Gardner Johnson for $8 million. They can plug and play anybody there.
So they're going to play a lesser player, less than $8 million, and they're going to put that in there, and you think that's going to be an upgrade? You think Tristan McCullum?
I think they feel better about doing that than doing that defensive line.
Well, they're downgrading and Moro Jomo too.
Well, they are, but that's why my whole premise is that they're going to draft a defensive lineman first overall. That's
my problem with the pick is that is there a D lineman at 32 that's graded as a
that
first?
Question's fair. That, is the 7th defensive lineman in the draft that's going to fall to you? Is he worth it? It might not be. He might not be. That's a fair point.
That's, I'm going with what Howie said yesterday on value. Do you think there's a valued first-round talent? They're at 32. That's why I told you Malachi for me. Because Malachi's a first-round guy, dude.
I'm not mad at the Malachi take. I would be, quite frankly, I'd be happy if we got Malachi Starks. I just don't. My whole thing is that I don't think the Eagles are going to do it. I might be wrong, man. I might be completely wrong. We'll see. Prince Swayze, what's up, Prince? He says, I agree with Sills regarding Malachi. He can play the slot as well. They're not going to draft him to play the slot. So you could move Cooper outside if Ringo doesn't pan out. I can't believe I'm agreeing with Weirdo Sills. LOL. Move up for him, Howie. That's hilarious. What's up, my boy Prince?
I like Prince. I like stupid ass Jay Brown. I like all these idiots in here.
Jay Brown's a moron, but I like him too. I like him.
I do too, man. I do too. I do too. I'm with.
I don't think they're all morons like Johnny Mac does. John McMullen thinks all of you are morons. I hate to break it to you, but he does. Kimbo says, especially with. Oh, we already got that one. All right, we got all the chats. Only 2 today. All right. Here we go. This is how we do it. Yeah, baby. Let's go, Lamar.
Oh, that's pretty funny, man. If you're going to pick one guy right now, who are you taking at 32? See, look at that. You know why you have to think like that? Because you know that pick is dog shit. It's not the dog shit. The pick's not dog shit. The player at that position is dog shit. Well,
if the board falls your way.
Oh, if the board falls your way,
the board, did it not fall perfectly?
Wait, you're hoping that someone falls there? That's not a strategy. That's prayer. You know in your heart that the chances of finding a guy at 30, dude, you're looking for starters.
Bro, if you give me Walter Nolan, I will leave that draft so fired up.
Davis is out.
Not necessarily.
2 years. 2 years he'll be out.
Not necessarily.
Hey, by the way, so you believe you're part of the guys in here that believe they're going to pay $18 million for the other
I didn't say that, but I don't think it's necessarily a surefire thing if they draft Walter Nolan that he's gone. I think it's a bad sign for Mora with Jomo. Guy's not going to hit the field.
Fair. Hey, do you think Jalen Carter will hold out?
No. They're going to pay him instant. He's going to be available for an extension. It's going to come
January
18th. Quick.
It's January 8th.
Yeah, it's going to come very quick. It's going to come very quick. If we go to the playoffs, obviously it'll come probably right after the playoffs. It wouldn't surprise me, actually, if he's the type of player, they would do it in the playoffs.
They may. Oh, I don't. Oh, yeah. Okay. They can.
Because once everybody else starts getting contract, like they're going to want to get ahead of it.
January 8th is the first day you can start that with the contract.
Well, they're going to be talking to his agent a lot before then. They're already talking to his agent.
So do you think in the next 2 weeks they pick up the Jordan Davis 5th year?
Yeah, that's the next big thing we're waiting for post-draft is what do they do with the Jordan Davis thing? I don't think they're going to let him walk. I don't think they're going to let him go into the year on a
I bet they announce it in the draft. You know how we'll make it feel better? They'll take a DT and they'll pick up the 5th year option. Right.
I could see that.
All right, Xander. Gonna get Jay Gruden in here soon, man. I appreciate you, brother. Great work on Birds 365. Just tell John one thing, man. Hey, this is what we do for a living, Junior.
You're telling me. I know this, all right? I don't think John does this.
He does a great job, man. Your guests have been great. Phenomenal.
I might have to rip Jeff Kerr next week, by the way, for what you said. I might have to rip him. I'm going to have to say, Jeff Kerr, take a deep breath.
Take a breath, kid. This is what you write columns on, too, isn't it? All right, my friend. Thank you so much, Z.
All right. Peace, Sills. Thanks, everybody.
You got it. Make sure, guys, you hit that like button. Our good friend Jay Gruden's going to join us here in a couple minutes. Don't forget our great friends at Morgan & Morgan, #1 injury law firm in America, with over $26 billion recovered for clients across the country. This is what makes Morgan & Morgan second to none. Nearly $30 million they ended up getting a family down in Pennsylvania. $650K they were offered. I mean, the family here in PA got that money, man, because Morgan & Morgan did their due diligence. Down in Florida, nearly $15 million recovered for a family that was offered $350K for damages. No way Morgan & Morgan went in and did the right thing for that family. Without further ado, guys, if you've ever been injured, do me a favor, please. If you've ever been injured Check out my friends at Morgan & Morgan at forthepeople.com/big sales or pound law 529. That's FOR, thepeople.com/big sales or pound law 529. And do me a favor, you tell them Big Sales sent you.
This is Eric. When he got injured in a car accident, he called Morgan & Morgan. He not only gets a lawyer, he gets trial lawyers like Sam and Jessica who are in it to win it. He gets his own investigators with briefcases, leather ones. And if you ever have questions, our customer service folks keep things rolling. Injured? We're your army. Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm.
Your financial future is on the line. Are you ready for what's next? At Leone & Company Wealth Management, we help young professionals, business owners, and pre-retirees navigate the complexities of building and protecting wealth. For young professionals, we'll help you grow your wealth, plan for your future, and make the most of your hard-earned dollars. For business owners, we provide strategies to protect your company, manage risks, and create a lasting legacy for both your business and personal wealth. For pre-retirees, we'll design a plan to secure your retirement, ensuring you can live comfortably and confidently in your next chapter. Whether you're just starting out, managing a thriving business, or preparing for retirement, we're here to help you take control of your financial future. The first consultation is on us. Get the advice you need without the cost. Let's make your financial vision a reality. Take the next step. Scan the QR code to schedule your free consultation today. And of course, go Birds.
They're carving them up and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
In our hometown, we all look out for each other. We step up to keep our communities going strong. And at Independence Blue Cross, we're here to keep you going strong as the #1 health insurer in the region. No IBX is always looking out for you.
EAGLES. Eagles.
Big Stills here. We just got confirmation Thursday. Elliot Wolf, the general manager of the New England Patriots, will join us on Thursday. And we will ask him some questions, obviously, about the Milton Williams deal. $26 million, highest paid contract in the history of the New England Patriots. I mean, that's more than Brady ever made up there. Brady never made the most money in the National Football League. Why? Because he reinvested in the roster. Brady knew his reinvesting in the roster would pay for O-linemen, defensive players. That's one of the keys they had in New England was a balanced salary cap. You have to have a balanced salary cap. Real quick before I get Jay in here, I can't wait to ask Jay this question, Jay Gruden, because he was involved in that whole RG3. People ask me, guy from USA Today asked me the other day about Shedeur Sanders. Here's my problem with the kid. Kid's never beaten a top 25 team ever. His dad has paved out the yellow brick road for him at Jackson State and also at Colorado. What happens when you go to a shitty team? Personnel's not good, coaching's not good, and you don't have the perfect environment. How does that play into the fact that you've never had to fight for anything? Look at Jaden Daniels. Transfers from Arizona State. Didn't want to leave Herm. Goes up to the Washington Commanders and changes the fortune of that franchise. I think that has a lot to do with the journey. I want a guy who's been a little bit beat up. That's the guy I want. I don't want a guy who gives the silver spoon. Here, kid. That's the problem with first-round draft choice as a quarterback. These quarterbacks. I can't wait to get to Jay. Let's get to them now. And Jay did the same thing. Let's get to Jay Gruden now. Jay had a guy in the 4th round or 5th round, I think it was, Kirk Cousins. They had RG3, and I guarantee Jay had more in common and could connect more with Kirk Cousins than he could with RG3 because I'm not throwing shade on RG3 here, Jay, but to me, I mean, I don't know, man. I like the guy who's had to battle for a job and had to earn things and had to go out there and prove people wrong.
Yeah, there's a lot to that, Dan, but you can't really fault Shedeur for the path that he's taken. He did go to Jackson State, won a lot of games at Jackson State, then transferred to Colorado, won games at Colorado. So he did accomplish what he was asked to accomplish, really. You made a good point. He had to be the top 25 team, but, he's still a good player, good athlete. Seems like a pretty good kid with a good head on his shoulders. Adversity is part of playing quarterback in the National Football League. He has not had to face a lot of it, and he will face it in the National Football League. How he handles that will be the make or break of his career as a pro football player. Would you draft him in the 1st round? I personally would not, but I think there will be teams that will take a shot with him because he has talent. He's got accuracy. He's got good leadership skills, supposedly. I just, I didn't see a player that got better throughout the course of the season. It was my only issue. BYU game, I thought that was his worst game, and it was his last game, which bothers me a lot. So I personally would not, but I would not put it past anybody to take him. I would be surprised if somebody took him in the 3rd pick in a draft. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody didn't take him till the 3rd round. That's how wide of a scale this is with Shedeur. Here was my problem, Jay. I mean, when you watch Jalen Hurts play the quarterback position, here's a guy that threw the ball away, and instead of taking minus yardage, he would throw the ball away because, as you know, what would bother Jay Gruden the most is a player with a turnover or taking minus yardage plays. Okay? To me, this guy would rather take a sack because it doesn't go against his completion percentage because, as you know, scouts and agents all know you get paid on stats. You get paid on numbers. This is what you get paid on. And I never thought he really helped this team when he had crucial situations. And anytime that there was a case that the team didn't perform well, it was the O-line. It was the coordinator. Man, when you're a quarterback, you take all the shit. And when you win, you give everyone else all the kudos. I don't know, man. I just don't see it with him. I think a lot of it has got a lot to do with all social media stuff. If his last name was Shedeur Ewers, like Quinn Ewers, he goes in the 3rd round, doesn't he? Yeah, there's a good chance. That's a great point too. And I do agree with you on a negative play. It drives me crazy. There were a lot of times where he had an opportunity to throw the ball away. He didn't do it for whatever reason. You just can't have negative plays in pro football. And I would much rather have him come into the National Football League as a 62% completion percentage and only taking 22 sacks as opposed to a 70% completion percentage taking 64 sacks. Drives me crazy. You're exactly right. But yeah, you just never know. I think this day and age with all the inside zones and the bubble screens and the little down flats and the naked bootlegs, he can do all that. And I think he's athletic enough. He's accurate enough where a coach can put a good plan in place to keep him out of harm's way. When going gets tough, though, and they have to make the yards on 3rd down or they have to make the yards when they're down 2 touchdowns, it's known passing situations. That's where I think he's going to have a lot of problems, as will a lot of these young kids coming up. Cam Moore will have the same issue. So there's going to be issues with these young kids. I'm kind of with you when it comes to Shedeur, but we'll see. How about this too, man? Look, I know the kid from UM, and I love UM. You know that. I mean, I don't see it there either, Jay. I mean, I see a kid who I think he had I like the journey. I like the whole thing, but I don't know, man. I saw reckless throws in there. And one thing about the NFL, and you know this as well as anybody, teaching these kids and teaching these quarterbacks, when you're in college, you're telling a kid where to throw the ball. When you're in the pros, you got to know where to throw the ball. Because if you don't know where to throw the football, you can't play the position. What do you make of this quarterback class? I'm with you again, Dan. I hate to agree with you all the time because I think you're full of crap half the time. But, I'm not sold on any of them either. My favorite guy might be the kid from Louisville, Tyler Shuck. He's 6'6". He's been hurt twice. I know he's 26 years old, but he's got the big frame and a big athletic throwing arm and the motion, and he's athletic enough. But Cam Ward does have a quick trigger. He's made a lot of big throws in his career, been to 3 different spots, one everywhere he's been. He can make all the throws, touch. He's got the arm talent. So I do think he is the best quarterback in the draft, but how much success he has, I don't know. I mean, they didn't get it done with the quarterback at Tennessee the last couple of years. They're going to change and try to go with another young one. I'd be surprised if any of these guys come out. I don't think any of these guys will do what CJ Stroud did or Jaden Daniels did in their rookie year. I just think they set the bar so high, it's so unrealistic that it's going to be very hard for these guys to do that.
Do you agree, JD? Did you regret drafting RG3?
I didn't draft him. He was there when I got here. So Shanahan's drafted him, and he was rookie of the year. Then the next year, he kind of got hurt the playoff game. Next year, they were terrible, 3-13, I think. And then I got the job after that year. I was the one that was responsible for moving to Kirk Cousins. They drafted Kirk and RG3 in the same year, and I came in and had to coach both of them.
Did you know right away? Jay, when you were in there and you were watching game tape? Did you know right away? Because I had never heard you say this. Did you when did you know it wasn't going to work? How quick? I'm sure you knew, but there's pressure from above. You've got contracts, you've got GMs, you've got all those things. It's a little different than in college where you kind of run your own ship and you got your own moat and castle. When you're in the pros, you got a lot of people you got to answer to. Did you know right away?
No, he did enough his rookie year. He won rookie of the year. There were 9-7. He won rookie of the year. Then he got hurt in a playoff game against Seattle. They had a really terrible year the next year. I think they were 3-13. Like I said, I was brought in to try to rejuvenate his career. So he had enough on tape where, heck, he could run and he could throw. He had some positive qualities about him. Just when I got here, watching him throw side by side next to Kirk and even Colt McCoy, we thought he was the third best quarterback throwing the ball. Now, you got to let these guys play in games because he has proven that he's been a gamer and won games at Baylor, won games in the National Football League. We had to let it play out. And just as it played out, it was clear to everybody in the building that, Kirk was a better quarterback.
When you're sitting at where the Eagles are, we're based in Philly, obviously, you're sitting at 32. I heard Howie Roseman say this yesterday. When I look at this draft, maybe you have a different opinion of it. I don't see 10 first-round draft choices. I just don't see a very good – I mean, everybody from 15 to 50 looks the same to me in grades and stuff. So I would say this to you. When you're at 32, what do you look at? I mean, did you really draft the 5th best edge rusher, knowing full well he's not really even a first-round guy? Or don't you go with a guy like Malachi Starks, who he's a first-round talent? Safety position may not be where people think it is today, but it's important, especially when you're playing 2-high safety. I mean, how did you look at the draft when you're down in the draft or you're in the middle of the draft? Did you go with best player available? Did you go with need? How did you look at players when you were trying to build a roster?
Well, you looked at need, and hopefully your need was the best player available so you could make that connection there. But if you had similar grades to a corner and a wide receiver and you needed a wide receiver, you take the wide receiver. But if the corner was way better than the wide receiver grade-wise, you take the best player available, and that has to happen sometimes. I think Philadelphia's got a luxury pick there. I think they could take their favorite player. It could be a running back. Won't be a running back. They got Saquon. But it could be an offensive lineman. It could be a defensive tackle. It could be a safety, like you mentioned. We did a little mock draft for the fun of it. Happened to be Luther Bird III fell to him. So it could be somebody of that nature that could fall right to him, the best player that might have got skipped by because there's a run on tackles or there's a run on defensive pass rushers, like you mentioned. So somebody good's going to fall to them at 32. I promise you that.
How would you play Travis Hunter?
I'd play him both. I hell with it. Shit, that's what he wants to do. If he can handle it physically, then I'd let him do it. I'd make sure when he got in the building, though, I'd teach him all offense first. Make sure he understands formations and personnel groups and the pass concepts, and just make sure he continues to get that drilled into his head and he's running routes because he needs polished route work. That's for sure. He's very talented, but he's unpolished as a wide receiver. So he needs all that work with a wide receiver coach. And then once training camp hit, maybe on Thursday and Friday or whatever it was later in the week, I let him do some DB drills, some one-on-ones, and let him get some work there. And after training camp, I'd put him in a defensive back meeting rooms and see how much he could go. 17 games, a lot of games for him to play both ways, but I think I'd feature him at wide receiver and play him about 20 plays on defense.
So in your opinion, what would be the more difficult? The way I'm listening, you think it'd be tougher to teach him the offensive game attack than it would be to play him at cornerback, because again, like I tell people, the offensive playbooks compared to the NFL defensive playbooks, the offensive playbooks, like you and your brother's playbook, looks like a Tokyo phone book.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's more difficult, you're thinking, on offense?
I think it is, and it changes week to week. You know, we got a totally different game plan against Philadelphia as we would for the New York Giants the next week. So you got to understand, you got to be in the meeting rooms. Formations change, personnel groupings change, pass concepts change. Everything changes from week to week. You got to be different. And defense too. I think the big thing defensively, if you're going to feature a lot of man-to-man with them, the most important thing is how you're handling motion. You change the strengths, the stacks, the bunches. He's got to get really in tune with how you handle that, because that's where it becomes tough as defensive back, whether you're playing zone or man-to-man, these bunches and stacks and the motion of 2x2 to 3x1. And there's a lot of communication that takes place there. So it's going to be very difficult for him. But I think offensively is where he's got to spend most of his time early and see how he does and see if he can make that transition. Is he that dominant receiver we think he is? We know he can play corner. Nothing against cornerbacks, but I know he can be an awesome corner in the National Football League. But can he be a game-changing wide receiver? Let's get him in the building, work on his routes, see his hands, see how he handles the information, and go from there.
Couple last questions here for you, Coach. How do you see the draft, in your opinion? Do you think it's a deep draft? Do you think it's a good draft? Do you think it's a weak draft? How do you look at it?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty good draft for teams to really help their team. I don't know if there's a lot of Pro Bowl type players in the first round. You know, I think the all rookie team might be a little shaky, but these are guys that are going to help your football team in years to come. I think there's a lot of guys that have talent there's a lot of pass rushers that have limited production. You know, they're all on, he's got great upside. He's got great length. He's got great speed, but he's got 4 sacks in his career. Like 4 sacks in his career. What, are you kidding me? But you got to take a chance with him because he can run and he's big. Same thing at wide receiver. You know, McMillan, he's the #1 receiver. Is he a physical guy? I don't know if he's that good or not. Burden's a littler type guy. He's a good player. The 2 kids from Texas, they got their knocks. But yeah, I think it's all about getting to the right system and having the right coach. And those guys got to understand. And once they get there, I know they got money in their pocket already from the NIL, but they got to work at their craft and get better. And the guys that do that will become good pros because there is some talent in this draft.
Jay, when you see a guy like that Shamir kid from A&M, you said it perfectly. I look at, and I saw him at the combines. I'm like, holy shit, if he was at Gold's Gym, this guy's the guy. But then when you put his tape on, you're like, I mean, a sack and a half? I mean, I don't know, dude. I mean, you got to stand out in a crowd if you want to play in the NFL, don't you? I'm like, doesn't production matter?
He is disruptive. He can be disruptive. Him and the other kid. I mean, there's 2 defensive ends in the draft. Scouten's a good player too. So I'm interested to see which one goes first. I'd take a shot with Shamir, though, like you said, just because of his length and his speed. With all the quarterbacks nowadays, with the versatility, the Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels, you guys that can run. You want guys that can run, that or have some length and chase these cats down. So I would definitely take a chance with this guy who's long and can run. And hopefully you get him in a building and have a pass rush specialist work on his hands, his moves, rip, squat, spin, all that stuff. So there's some talent. They just need some work. And there's some guys that have a lot of sacks that don't really have the size that you really want. So production guys don't have the size you really need. The guys that don't have the size have all the size and the length. So it's a very tough draft for the defensive pass rushers.
Coach, last one here for you. Howie Roseman. How do you make of him as general manager? Some think he's the best GM in the league. Some think he gets the salary cap because he comes from the money side of the building, not a personnel side. But the last 4 years, they've done a really nice job. I think it's because they played in the sandbox of the SEC. And that's pretty much, I mean, you're almost in a fail-safe, right, Coach, when you're down there in the SEC. So, but you personally, I mean, having gone against that organization a couple of years as head coach of the Washington Redskins, tell me, man, how do you look at him?
Yeah, I think he's done an incredible job. We were the same way. We erred on the side of SEC. We had a bunch of Alabama guys. We're like, hell, and if it's close, we're taking SEC guys. These been through the ringer. They played the tough competition. They're 5-star recruits. I mean, these guys are all good players. They've done the same thing with the Georgia guys. So I think he's done an incredible job of not being afraid to make changes despite what the fans think and what the media thinks. You know, I mean, he makes changes. He goes out and trades for Saquon Barkley. He gets A.J. Brown in the building somehow. He loses other guys that are pretty good players. People are like, you can't lose him, Hassan Reddick. You can't lose it. And he does it. He does it based on what's best for the football team. And every decision he's made so far, knock on wood, has worked out perfectly for these guys. And they're in a position right now to be strong for many years to come because they had a good quarterback. Their line of scrimmages on both sides are dominant. And if you can build dominant offensive line and defensive line, you don't have to have a top quarterback like a Josh Allen or, Patrick Mahomes. You can have a guy like Jalen Hurts. So he's done a great job of really understanding what it takes to win football games. It takes a line of scrimmage and then have a couple big play targets like Saquon and obviously AJ Brown and some of the other guys.
I want to sneak one last one in on you because I heard Chase Daniels say this morning, and I want to ask you, is Jalen Hurts one of the quarterbacks in the National Football League you would build your team around?
Well, what are my choices, Dan? He can't just, yes, if he's all I get, yeah, I would take him. But I'd rather have about a dozen more, probably. Does that make sense?
Well, because he said that there's 10 quarterbacks that he would take above Jalen Hurts if you had to build from scratch.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I'd say there's about 10. I'd say probably 11th or 12th. I wouldn't mind building my team around Hurts, though. He's an athletic kid. He can throw good enough, and obviously he's proven winner. So he's won everywhere he's been. So, what the hell? He's won a Super Bowl. He's been in another Super Bowl. So he's got something to him. He's got, shit, I'd take him.
Hey, Jay, get back on the golf course. You look good, brother.
Yeah,
Dude, hey, the good life is treating you too good, man. You surrendered now. You must be in sweats all day, too. You don't give a shit about getting dressed up anymore, do you? You don't care. You got the money.
I got a collared shirt on. I look good.
Coach, thanks a lot, brother. I appreciate you, man.
All right, Dan. Thank you, man. Anytime. See ya.
That's my friend, Jay Gruden, man. I love the guy. Yeah, I forgot that one with Xander. Holy shit. Chase Daniels says that there's about 10 guys that they would build a team around. And I happen to agree. If you had to start from scratch, okay, with Jalen Hurts, one of the top 100 most influential. I think that's a great honor, though. I won't lie. Time Magazine names you one of the top 100 most influential people in the world. I think that's dope. Okay? I love that. I think that's one of the great. I'll tell you this. I would take that over all pro any day. One of the most influential people in the world, one of the top 100 people in the world. That is a really great comment. Okay? Get this. Who would I take to build a team around? What would be my top 10 quarterbacks? If I had to start from scratch, this is not a conversation. Who are the top 5 quarterbacks in the league? Let's see. Evan, 8, 9, and 10. Who would be the 10 quarterbacks that I would build my team from scratch? Number 1, I'm going Joe Burrow. Number 2, Josh Allen. Number 3, if I had to build my football team from scratch, no AJ, no Saquon, Patrick Mahomes. Number 4, Lamar Jackson. Number 5. Let me get this list up here. Let me get this. Let me get this list here. If I had to build my team around today, not building it around Aaron Rodgers, Justin Herbert. Jaden Daniels. CJ Stroud. Building from scratch. I'm going to put Hurts there at 8. I'm not taking Caleb. Not taking Cousins. Would I go Love? Probably Jordan Love, 9. Building a football team from scratch. Would I build my team from scratch with Jared Goff? No. Baker Mayfield? No. You got to build your team around a stiff, like, get this. No, I'm building my team for a guy who has all the skill sets that I need, not a guy who relies on a running back for 18, 19 games and plays 2 games. That's what I'm doing. Guy who throws for 29.03 is not anybody I want to build my team around. No, thank you. And he's got it. How could you have an offense that's 29th? Hey, how could you have an offense that's 29th and you have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith on it? I mean, really, you got Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown on your team, and you're ranked 30th in passing. How's that possible? I'm not building my team around that. That's for damn sure from scratch. We're not, no, get this. Hey, what's this winning thing? Then you're not winning. Well, guess what? Nobody's winning with a rebuild and building from scratch. Building from scratch is not winning. You're starting a team. Oh, you're right. Joe Burrow and Allen or any of those buddies, they would be stiffs on the Eagles. Yeah, right. Stupidest comments you could make. I happen to agree with Chase and Coach Gruden. Who would I put at 10 now? Yeah, that's right. If you were going to draft a quarterback in the draft, you would take Jalen Hurts number 1 overall, right? Yeah, I'm sure of it. Over all these quarterbacks, hey, it's funny, if I had to draft, I love that. If I had to draft the quarterbacks right now in the NFL, team excluded, nothing to do with team, my first round draft pick would be Joe Burrow. My second would be Allen. My third would be Mahomes. After 4, Lamar. I could ask, get this, just because you guys are saying this in here, I could ask any NFL coach or general manager this question. Ask John McMullen that question tomorrow. If he, out of all the quarterbacks in the league, he'd build this team around Jalen Hurts from scratch. Ask that question in the morning. See what John says. Xander would put Hurts second and building his team around. Well, I'll tell you what, if you took A.J. Brown and Devontae off that team and you gave everyone the same team, you're telling me you think Jalen Hurts would carry the team further. If both guys had wide receivers, the same equivalent of Juju Smith-Schuster, you think Hurts would carry him further. That's ridiculous. You know why? Because the guy in Buffalo does. Guy in Buffalo doesn't have receivers. He didn't even have a tight end. I mean, there's not one player in Buffalo that could start in Philly. Not one. Not one. Think about that. That guy in Buffalo, there is not one player that could start. Kincaid couldn't start over Goddard. Coleman, he went to the third wideout. John Hobson, first round pick, Super Bowl champion. Kincaid couldn't start over Goddard. I would take Goddard over Kincaid. Goddard's a better player. Oliver plays offense. Oh, what a great. Hold on for a minute, man. Chase, I got to get that. Hold on for a second. This wasn't my. This was actually a pretty damn interesting conversation. You know what I got to do? I got to get Chase Daniels on. Did they have that? I've got to get Chase on because that was an amazing take that Chase Daniels had. Let's see if I can find that. Daniel said that that there's about 10 guys over Jalen Hurts that he would take to build his team at quarterback around. Nobody in their right mind outside of Philly would think that. Ask John McMullen that in the morning. See what he says. If Jalen Hurts would be the second quarterback taken in the league to build your team around from scratch and ground up. Make sure you ask John that question. See what he says. I'm taking Johnny Wilson for tight end. You dude smoking. Hold on, man. What's up? What's up? Top quarterbacks, man. I got to find that comment, man. That was pretty remarkable. Who's the Super Bowl MVP? Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco. Yeah. Oh, my God. I'm going to take Jalen. Hey, funny. The team was built. Then they put Hurts in. They didn't build a team around him. They got him agent. Hey, look. Kudos to Howie. Way to go, Howie. They built that team last year around Saquon. Hey, let's do this. Do you win the Super Bowl if Barkley's not on that team? Yes or no? No. You do not. Oh, man. Yeah. You do not. You do not win that Super Bowl without him. How you doing? Holy cow. I'm going to ask Philly 500 that. That'll be at the bottom of the hour. Okay? How you doing? Damn, Chase. I got to find that comment, man. That was a heck of a comment. There's about 10 guys to take over him. No, I didn't ask you about the defense, kid. I asked you about, do you think you could win the Super Bowl if Barkley wasn't on that team? You know what, though, man? I got to tell you guys, building my football team around, I mean, really, are there 10 quarterbacks that I would do that? Let me redo this. If I had to build my football team around a quarterback in the NFL today, I'd take Burrow 1. This is from scratch. Allen 2. Mahomes. Lamar's a better player. Hurts is 5th. He's not 8th. Herbert, I agree with Xander. No. Even though he's got great skill set. Stroud or Hurts? Because you're a better passer doesn't mean you're a better quarterback. Those are probably the 5 guys you would build your. You know what's funny? Those are my 5 quarterbacks. So I'm going to revamp that. I don't think there's 10 quarterbacks you would build your. Isn't this fair? I don't think Jaden Daniels. No. I don't know enough about him yet. No, I'm not going to put Daniels in the top 5 guys I build my team around. If Daniels duplicates it again and takes his team to the NFC title game again, then we're talking something. But I got to see it again. So I'm going to revamp this. And tell me if you guys, you do, Abe. You do. So I'm going to put him in the 5. Because I'm going to, you know what? I'm not built. Are you building your team around Jared Goff? I'm not. Burrow, Allen, Mahomes. Probably Mahomes. I got too low at 3. Lamar and Hurts. Stroud, Love. I think you're just trying to make conversation when you're doing that. Tagovailoa, Kyler Murray, Purdy, Sam Darnold, Geno. I'm not building my fucking team around them guys. Cousins, Russell, Bryce Young, Drake May. I'm not building my team around them guys. Yeah, I'm not building my team around Purdy. I think there's 5 quarterbacks you build your team around right now. I don't think there's 10. Who are the 10 guys he's talking? Where does he see 10? Now, if Herbert wins the Super Bowl, it's different. You know. I mean, look, Lamar's a 2-time Super Bowl champion. Dude, I put your boy in the top 5. Prince. I'm not saying anything. I put your boy 5th. You build your team around. Suck it up, kid. Thanks for the super, brother. Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, Lamar, Daniels, Herbert, Goff, Stafford, Tanner, Shador, May, over her. Come on, man. Let me guess. Will Howard, 2 over Hurts. Will Howard, right? Or yeah. Yeah, dude, you know, Lamar's a better player. He's a 2-time MVP. I mean, he's a great player. Yeah, it's got to be those 5. I mean, really, outside of those 5, what other quarterback would you put in the top 5 if you had to build your team around? Here are the guys in passing yards that finished. Jared Goff? No. Joe Burrow? Yes. Baker? I'm not building my team around Baker Mayfield. Sam Darnold? I'm not building my team around Sam Darnold. No way. Lamar? Mahomes? Rodgers? No, thank you. Herbert? Too many dumb mistakes. Purdy? I think Brock Purdy's a good quarterback. He's a really good quarterback, but build my team around? Kyler Murray, I'm building my team around him. Bo Nix? No, thank you. Stafford? This late in his career? I'm not building. Now, look, if Stafford was earlier in his career, then it's a different conversation. But right now, would you build your team around Matthew Stafford, knowing that he's probably got 2 years left? You want to build a season around him? That's a different conversation. Build my organization around him? I would take Jalen Hurts. If that question's asked to me, listen to this. This is how crazy this is going to sound. This will sound crazy. Sills, would you take Aaron Rodgers or Jalen Hurts right now to build your franchise? Jalen Hurts. Sills, if you were going to take Matthew Stafford or Jalen Hurts to build your team around, who would you take? I would take Jalen Hurts. Over Stafford? What does he have left? 1 or 2 years? Then he's out? Then I'm in a situation where I need a quarterback? I'm trying to get stability at that position. Hurts in his age gives me stability. Stafford and Rodgers does not give me stability. I don't think there's 5. Are there really 5 quarterbacks? That's a great question. You think there's 5 quarterbacks in the league that you would build your team around? Burrow, Allen, Mahomes, Lamar, Hurts. Is there anybody else you would put in that group of 5? Is there anyone else you would put in that group of, hey, guys, if you want to arrange them differently, that's fine. Let's just stick with this. You think that there's anybody in the league that can supplant any of those names? Off the first 2 years, I'll tell you what, they have rebounded. Okay? I think Love is a little too inconsistent. Okay? They've never built a team around Hurts. Hurts went to Alabama. They didn't build that team around him. Hurts went to Philly. They didn't build that team around him. It was already there. It was built for Wentz. I mean, I'm talking Cincinnati was built around Burrow. Allen, the team's built around Allen. Lamar, the team's built around Lamar. Hurts never went to a startup. That's to his benefit, totally. By the way, again, that's not the conversation. The conversation, is there really more than 5 guys that you would take in this league right now at quarterback? I think this tells you a little bit about the position. Look at these guys. Well, this is not a fair question. Not when you have to play against top flight quarterbacks in the AFC every playoff. You're playing against a rookie. Who else did you play? Sam Darnold? It's a little different than going through Mahomes and Lamar if you're Mahomes. Or Burrow. I don't think there's anybody outside. Hey, look, I think there's 5 guys. I disagree with Chase. I don't think there's 10 guys. Justin Herbert, I mean, Justin Herbert for me, and I know Marcus Hayes loves him. Okay? I know Marcus Hayes intangibles. Bro, I'm talking about building a football team around a guy from scratch. Not if he's a good dude, not if he works hard. I'm talking about a team with no. Okay, look, this is the Xander's point about Shedeur. We're going to find that out about Shedeur. If Shedeur can walk into New York and build an offense, and he can take that offense to the playoffs and change the culture, Xander would be right about Shedeur. If he goes in there and shits the bed and he can't carry and elevate those other guys I mentioned did, then he's a bust. Joe Burrow went into Cincinnati. Did he not elevate that organization? Did he not? Again, I'm talking about, bro, if you think Jalen Hurts is in the same room with Josh Allen and Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, and you starting a team, nobody in their right mind would draft Jalen Hurts over any one of those guys. Nobody. Ask John McMullen in the morning that question. Ask him. If everything was even, and you had to start a new franchise, and you had to start a brand new franchise, what would you take? Stills, that's incorrect. The team was built around Hurts. Okay. Smitty joined afterwards, and AJ was acquired via trade. It's funny. Those other teams and those other quarterbacks need none of that to win. Bro, I'm not debating this. We'll agree to disagree. You take your boy to build your team from scratch with, and I'll take Allen, Burrow, or Mahomes to build my team around. You build your team around Jalen, and I'll build my team around those other guys from scratch. It's all good. No, you're right. Jalen's better than Joe Burrow. Yeah, you're right. Jalen's better than Mahomes. You're right. Jalen's better than Allen. You're right. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. It fucking never gets old. Hey, Jalen Hurts is the best quarterback in National Football League now. Nick Sirianni's the highest paid. It should be the highest paid head coach in the NFL at $25 million a year. How he's the greatest GM of all time and makes no dumb moves. Boy, it's good to be king. Hey, I'm with you, man. It is all good. Oh, hey, real quick before I take a time out here, let me go down here. Oh, this feels good. Let me ask you guys a question before I take a time out, because I'm going to ask Philly 500 this question. Let me ask you guys here. So, Moro Jomo, Milton Williams, have you upgraded that position? Yes or no? Let me write this down. Have you upgraded that position? Thank you for the super, Leon. Jalen has just as many Super Bowl wins as Lamar, Joe, Allen, Herbert have AFC titles combined. Continue to eat crow. Yep. Congratulations. Super Bowls are an individual award? I must have missed that. So, Professor says, yes. I'm not throwing nothing in. I would never take Hurts over any of those guys. But that's not a bad thing. Fourth guy, fifth guy to build a team around? I'm sorry, I'm not here to help you out on that one. So, do you believe you've upgraded over Moro with Milton Williams, Moro Jomo? Yes or no? I wrote this down. Where was that? Where is that? Where is that? Here we go. Moro Jomo, you've upgraded. Okay. So you think Moro Jomo's an upgrade to Milton Williams? Push. Correct. Really? Okay. So wait a minute. Ramsey and Vic don't get along. Let me ask you this one. Do you believe you have an upgrade with Bryce Huff over Josh Sweat? Moro Jomo is an upgrade to Milton. Bryce Huff, Defensive Player of the Year. Do you believe you've upgraded Josh Sweat with Bryce Huff or Alex Hunt? Pick one. I think I got that written down there. I think I got that there. Mario Jones was a beast. Here it is. So Josh Sweat to Bryce Huff or Alex Hunt. Upgrade? You think Milton Williams, Mario Jones was an upgrade, so I circled it. Do you think Gardner Johnson to Tristan McCullum or Sidney Brown, do you believe that's an upgrade? Yes to Jalix. Jalix Hunt is an upgrade on Josh Sweat. Sidney Brown will be an upgrade to Gardner Johnson. So you think that Moro Jomo is an upgrade to Milton Williams, and now you're saying that you believe that Sidney Brown is an upgrade to Gardner Johnson. Do you believe that Keely Ringo is an upgrade to Darius Slay? Keely Ringo is an upgrade to Slay. Do you believe that Grant Calcaterra is an upgrade to Goddard? I'm making my point on how you see Hurts. Do you think that Calcaterra is an upgrade? No. Okay. So we've come to the conclusion here. Eagle fans think Moro Ajomo is an upgrade to Milton Williams. Sidney Brown's an upgrade to Gardner Johnson. Keely Ringo will be an upgrade to Slay. One last one. The draft's the worst draft in 20 years. Is Kenyon Green an upgrade to Mekhi Becton? Becton to Green. No? So just to be, before we take a time out here, Moro Jomo is an upgrade to Milton Williams. Josh Sweat, Alex Hunt, and Bryce Huff are an upgrade to Josh Sweat. Sidney Brown and Tristan McCullum are an upgrade to Gardner Johnson. And Keely Ringo is an upgrade to Darius Slay. And you would draft Jalen Hurts over Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, and Patrick Mahomes. Time to take a timeout. Oh my God. Oh my God, is this going to be an absolutely hilarious year? Ooh, baby. Yes, sir. Hey, do me a favor. Don't forget to check out my great friends. Hey, did we lose any of our top 5 defenders? Of course you didn't. I know. Hey, no, all those guys are replaceable off the number 1 ranked defense. How come John McMullen says that you're going to finish 28th in defense? I at least ain't saying that. McMullen says you're going to finish 28th. I'm not saying that. I think you're going to finish 12th, somewhere in there. Should I put you above middle of the pack until the team gets better? I never said it. Well, explain this one to me, okay? I love these Super Bowl guys. So let me ask you something here. So according to some of you guys' mentality, you think Jalen Hurts is a better quarterback than Dan Marino. Is that right? Jalen's got a Super Bowl MVP. Dan doesn't. Dan's never won one. He's been to one. Jalen's been to two. So Professor says that Jalen Hurts is better quarterback than Dan Marino because Jalen's got a Super Bowl. Marino's overrated. Marino stinks. Jalen's better. I'll take more. Foles Marino. So wait, Hurts is a better quarterback than Warren Moon. Warren Moon never been to a Super Bowl. He's a better quarterback. You think Jalen's better than McNabb? Is Jalen better than McNabb? This is so much fun. Hey, the homerism is so much. I love watching homerism. I love watching homers. I do. It's fun. It's great. Okay? Please, no, stop. Don't stop. No, please. It brightened my day up. Are you kidding? Don't stop. Yeah. So you're forgetting the greatness of the two-time Super Bowl champ. Oh, so you guys think that is Jalen better than Eli Manning? Eli's a two-time Super Bowl champion. So wait a minute. Eli's got 2 Super Bowl rings and 2 Super Bowl MVPs. Jalen's better than a 2-time Super Bowl MVP. This shit gets even better. Oh, my God. Holy shit. Oh, hey, asking the question if he's better than Josh Allen. I'm sorry for asking that. Because it really doesn't matter. Oh, my God. Please keep going, man. This is too much. Holy cow. Eagles have a complete team. Josh Allen. Don't, buddy. It's different. Still hates the fact that Hurts is a winner over these bums, man. I asked you who's better. I didn't ask you who's a winner. I asked you who's better. Show some respect when speaking about the current Super Bowl champion. I did. He's Time Magazine's top 100 good-looking dudes. I got to take a time out here. Hey, don't forget my great friends at Morgan & Morgan, where, again, their resume speaks for itself. Nearly $26 billion recovered for clients across the country. This is exactly what they do. Number 1 resume in all of America. Okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm not going to take a timeout. I'm going to get to Philly 500 here. And I want to ask him a question here. And it's something Jace Daniel. And I want to see what he says because you homers were pretty damn good. So I want to get this. Let me get my – we've had a change in direction here a little bit. So let's bring in Philly 500. Brother, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good.
Buzzsaw here.
Let's rock and roll. Let's go.
Right.
What is it?
So
what could it possibly be?
First off, let me ask you this. Starting from scratch, if you had to pick the first player to build your roster and to build your football team in the NFL, what quarterback would you take number one to build your team from scratch?
Honestly, Patrick Mahomes.
Okay.
That would be my one.
Get this, Philly. I think there's 5 guys.
Okay.
I don't really think there's any more than 5 guys. So Mahomes.
Okay. Mahomes one.
Okay. And I'll give you mine after. Okay. Who would be 2?
I have 2 and 3. 2 and 3 really close. Really, really close. I'll give the slight edge to Josh Allen.
Okay.
And it's close.
Number 3.
Hurts.
Hurts over Joe Burrow.
Oh, yeah.
Hurts.
The only reason I say Josh Allen is because I think physically, I think he's got the tools. I remember that playoff game versus the Chiefs where it was in overtime, and he did everything he could in that moment to win that game. So I feel like in the right situation, he could win the big game. I would put him.
I don't want to pollute this question. Who's 4?
Burrow.
Okay. And I really think there's only one more. I'm not building it around Herbert, you know?
No, Herbert's a choker. The guy throws 5 interceptions in one game.
Who would you put at 5?
That's a good question.
Kid in Baltimore?
I would probably lean to Lamar Jackson, but to me, he's got the same issue, in my opinion, as like Dak Prescott and stuff. He hasn't won those big games, but he's won 2 MVP, so I probably have to put him there.
Here is if I had to build the football team from scratch, I'd put Burrow 1. I believe he's a better passer than Mahomes. I think he's a better quarterback, period. I think Mahomes just does so much. I got Allen 2. I've got Mahomes 3. I'll tell you one thing too, Philly. The Eagles exposed Mahomes a little bit. You get internal pressure on that kid and you run him around and he has no running game. That guy looked terrible in that game.
I think that any quarterback that you expose in that way is going to have a problem.
That's fair. Brady struggled with internal pressure.
I think any quarterback, what makes Allen and Hurts so valuable is that they could get out of those situations. And Mahomes in a lot of ways can too. But I got to give it to Mahomes. He's won 3 Super Bowls. He lost talent like guys like Tyreek Hill. Still
and he's
won.
Been to 5.
And he's been to 5. And then he split with Hurts, although I think Hurts plays better head-to-head against him than anybody else in the league. And then I think that,
great take.
He took an overtime. He took a team against the 49ers in overtime of the Super Bowl. I got to give him the slight edge right now.
I've got Lamar 4, and I got Jalen. Now, look, I don't mind people moving those guys around. Do you not agree? Outside of those 5 guys, is there anybody else that you would throw in to supplant any one of those 5 guys? I mean, I look down the list here of the quarterbacks in the league here, and you know what? Because I got this topic from Chase Daniels. Chase is like, there's 10 guys that he he would take over Hurts, and I'm like, yeah, I don't think I see that.
No way.
Okay,
No way.
and I'm
Listen.
like, well, no, but Philly, it's not who's the better guy. It's if you were to draft a quarterback right now, who would you take number 1 or number 2 or number 3 to build your football team from scratch with no Devontae on the team, no AJ? You had to build it up with rookies. I think it's a different conversation than the guy who's in the room right now because, again,
I got to tell you, Sills, this is going to sound crazy, but I might have to change my 2 and 3. I have to might put Hurts over Allen.
Yeah, but let me throw this at you. The Eagles never thought that because they put him in the second round. They didn't think.
I don't think I honestly don't think they thought he was what he was. But I think today we've gone like to such a degree where that all the statistics and regular season seems to matter more than what used to matter.
Because it's how you're paid.
Winning.
Because it's how you're paid.
But the truth is I would always rather have the guy that could win in the playoffs and win a Super Bowl than a guy that couldn't. And you got to give it to Hurts.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. Do you think, and I'll ask you this question one more time after this topic, do you believe that the Eagles would have won that Super Bowl if Barkley's not on that team?
No, because Barkley did something that was incredible. However, when they got to the Super Bowl, Barkley didn't do anything. And it was Hurts and his ability to throw in that game along with
then I'll rephrase the question. Then I'll rephrase the question. Do you think the Eagles would have got to the Super Bowl if Barkley wasn't on that team?
Yes. Because I think that defense was really good. And I think the distance between the Eagles and everybody else is huge. I think the team last year the Eagles had was really one of the better Super Bowl teams I've seen in a long time. And I think the gap between them, Washington, Detroit was that big.
The first 4 games of the year, they were throwing the ball and they were 2-2. The last, when they got out of that, they limited the quarterback's throws and they increased the carries. You still hold to that? You think they would have won the Super Bowl?
Well, I mean that 2-2 when they were 2-2, I think they were a lot different because I count. What I'm saying is that would it have been harder? I mean, Barkley made a huge difference. There's no doubt, but I also think a big part of that season is the defense. That defense was lights out, and after they put DeJean in after that Tampa game, they started playing much better. So I'm not saying that I'm not trying to minimize Barkley's impact. I just think that the gap between the Eagles and everybody else was so great. I think the Eagles were a Super Bowl caliber team like they were 2 years prior. I think Barkley put them over the edge to win it.
Yeah, but the quarterback was turning the ball over the year before. He had 17 turns. He had 17
but they started 10-1. They totally collapsed, right? But the year before that, they were in the Super Bowl and almost won it. They didn't have Barkley. They had Miles Sanders. And they weren't that – I mean, they were somewhat different, but they weren't that much different.
They had 70 sacks that year.
They did. They did.
And they were number 2. They were number 2 in defense. Listen, I think it's a great conversation because you're right. That defense, and I won't lie to you, dude, and I'm not going to dismiss it. That's one of the best defenses I've ever seen in postseason play.
Yeah.
I mean, they got after people, man.
I thought so too. And I think Barkley was what really put them over the edge. But I still think if you take Barkley off that team, and let's say you have DeAndre Swift or Miles Sanders, and you're going to tell me that number 1 defense that they probably would have had, maybe they have to throw a little more, couldn't have beaten Washington and gotten to the Super Bowl, I disagree. I think they could have.
All right, let me go.
They might not have won, but
let me go to another one here. And Xander and I had a really good conversation on this. So the kid in Chicago that just got let me see. Here it is. Tyler Gorn is a slot corner And he just signed, and he's the highest paid guy at that position in the NFL, signed a 3-year, $40 million deal with 31 guaranteed. Okay. That comes out to roughly around 13.5.
I'll take it.
The top corners right now are making 30 and north of 30. My question to you is, and I think Xander gave me the number, they've brought in 5 corners. They got Keely Ringo. They signed Adoree Jackson. If I'm Cooper DeJean, the Eagles are telling you, aren't they, that they do not believe he could play corner. Vic even said, well, Vic said he wants to keep him in the slot.
Yeah, but do you think it's because he can't play outside corner or because he's just so?
No, I said I think
inside?
the Eagles don't think they can. Because their actions are showing you that.
Yeah. That's not the take I took. I thought it was more that he was so good in the slot that they didn't want to move him out. I actually look at Cooper DeJean like this, and I said this about DeJean. I don't see DeJean as just a typical outside corner anyways. I think he's one of these guys that you have to use differently. I think he's got to be like the way almost the Eagles use Malcolm Jenkins late in his career, where you need him in the slot, you play him in the slot. You need him on the outside, You want to match him up with a tight end, you need him at safety. He's got to float, I think. I think he could play every position in that secondary. And I think that you need to move him around depending upon the matchups. I think that's the best way in the long run to utilize Cooper DeJean.
That's a $17 million annual difference.
I know. And I'm not saying he's going to like it. No, he's not going to like it.
I'm staying in Philly because you like me in the slot. I mean, that dude eating 17 annually a year because you like me in the slot and I believe and you believe. I happen to think he could too. If you're not going to move him now when Slay's off the team and you're rifling all these other guys in, and you got Keely penciled in right now as the starter, if not now, when?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I know that Cooper DeJean probably wants to go outside, get paid like it. So it's an interesting thought, because it's still a few years away from, I think, being an issue. But it's really going to depend on how Ringo's playing. Like, what if Ringo and Adoree aren't playing so well and you have another defensive back? Do you push him outside during the year? It's something that could happen. But
so you value Ringo? You value Ringo more over Cooper because you're waiting to see if he can win the spot?
No, I don't. But
I'm with you. I'm with you on this. I'm with you on this. I think he can go out there and play it.
Yeah,
but the slot corner is more of a safety. That's the words of Vic Fangio. It's a glorified safety spot. It's not a corner spot, dog.
I got to tell you, I think, look, I know the importance of an outside corner. I get it. But, you got to look at this guy's skill set. You can use him if a defensive coordinator can figure ways to use him in certain matchups. I think you'll then be utilizing his abilities to the utmost. And I think that just looking at him as either an outside corner or inside corner, I think it's doing him a disservice in the long run of what his potential could be. Now, maybe that affects his money. He doesn't like it. That's a whole different story. But this is a kid that could play every position in the secondary as far as I'm concerned.
Don't you agree? Again, the Eagles play a different style too. When there's no such thing in Philly as a lockdown corner because you play zone. You play 97.8% of the time in zone. You play 3% man.
Right.
So again, and by the way, they played that way in college. Both Q and DeJean at Toledo and Iowa played zones. I'm not ripping anyone. They're a perfect fit for the style of defense. That's why they drafted them. It's not, I'm just saying as a player, my agent comes to me and goes, hey, bro, you're eating $17 million a year. If you sit in that slot, the highest paid guy makes $13.5. Wait a minute. The other guys are making $33, $34 million. By the time his deal comes up, he could be up there $40 million. And you're going to keep me in a slot position, the highest paid guy with $13 million? I got a problem with that.
Well, here's what I'll say to that, though. And this is where I think if you listen to Howie in the past, the way they've used certain guys, if they view you as like a weapon, right? They didn't see Saquon Barkley as, oh, he's just a running back, but a specific weapon with a unique talent. They'll pay you what you want. They'll pay you more than somebody else at a position because of your unique skill set. And I think that's the way they would probably handle Cooper DeJean.
That's a great take. That's a great take. All right, let me ask you this here, and I like that take, that they would reward the kid because of the importance of what he brings to a defense, because he plays in the middle of the field and he's covering tight ends and backs out of the field. That's a great take, and I appreciate that. All right, so Howie and Nick yesterday, I took a lot away from it. Now you tell me, and I'm gonna read something to you here. This is the words of Nick Sirianni. The profile of a tight end, and what we're looking at a tight end groom, is this. You don't have to have a one guy fit all. You can have a couple players doing this and blocking and catching. To me, it sounds like the Philadelphia Eagles have redefined the tight end position, because you got the fucking guy in the room right now that does all. He can block, he can catch. And to me, when I heard Nick say this, it sounds to me like the Eagles are going by committee at tight end. Doesn't that sound like a committee?
Yeah, it doesn't sound like Goddard's going to be here, even though he's still on the roster. So that's exactly what it sounds like. That's what they're going to do, you know. And who are you going to draft? And I'm sorry, there's one or two guys in the draft, as far as I'm concerned, I think can start. So any of these guys you bring in, I don't know how ready they're going to be. So yeah, it's going to be by committee if you get rid of them.
Here's another one here that I thought was interesting. So Howie Roseman talked about the draft this year not being that hot. And he said this: there's never been a draft in NFL history that's had 32 graded picks at any time in 89 years since the draft's been instituted in 36. This year especially. So if I'm sitting at 32 and I'm sitting down there and he knows that there's not a first-round guy, but when I look at Malachi Starks and go, that guy could start right now for me. He could play right now for me, and the rest of the guys don't really have a first-round grade. Dude, I just had Jay Gruden on. Jay Gruden doesn't even think Shedeur Sanders is a first or second rounder. He thinks he's a third-round grade, but he'll go in the first round because that's what teams do. So for me, I ask you here, if you're at 32, doesn't Malachi Starks make more sense than any other guy in the draft? Because how he's looking at that pick, he said value, Philly, yesterday. He went like this: value pick matches the talent. If you don't have a guy down there matching the pick with talent, why are you taking the fifth best edge rusher?
I agree. I agree. Here's what I'll say, because there's something else that Howie said in the press conference. He said, my DNA is to be aggressive. That's what he said, to be aggressive. They're not 32 first-round picks in this draft. To me, I think they're going up. I think he's going to trade up. And I think, and this is I know a lot of people don't agree with me, but I think Malachi Starks is going to be the guy, because the Eagles have done enough money management. They need to now acquire talent onto this roster for next year. And if you get a Malachi Starks, who I believe can start right away, you now have a rookie at safety, which will free you up to extend Reed Blankenship. To me, it's killing two birds with one stone. And I think Malachi Starks is way more in play than people think, because I said to you, I've said this, the edge rushers aren't going to be there. They're all going to go early. Nobody wants to pay these guys $40+ million. They're going to go early. So Starks is going to be the best value pick, unless somebody gives him a bunch to trade out of the first round, like a first-round pick next year. I honestly think they move up a little bit and snag Malachi Starks. And I think it's going to surprise a lot of people.
Why not do this? Malachi Starks was a track and field guy at Georgia too. Why not put
Right.
him in the slot and put out DeJean out in the corner?
I don't know. I don't know that they want. I mean, they need a safety. They don't have a safety. So I don't know.
I think replacing Slay is going to be harder than you think. Keely
It might
Ringo
be.
is not going to cover it.
Well, we'll see about Ringo. I think Adoree Jackson could come in and do a competent job if need be. But to me, who are you going to have at safety? Sidney Brown? I don't trust him. The other kid that they got what they need, I don't trust him either. I need somebody. If I get Malachi Starks, who looks like I like Nick Amon-Wari, and then I went back and started watching this kid even more. This kid's my number one safety now. I think he fits the Eagles perfectly. And I think he would be a great pick. I do. So
I think listen to this. This is what Kirby Smart said about him when he first walked on this field at Athens, Georgia. It took him, with all these guys that have gone in the draft, 1 week to go, that's my safety. He knew immediately just how great he was of a player. Why am I going to take a gamble on a guy who played at fucking Marshall or a guy? I don't know, man. That guy looks like the surefire thing.
Yeah, and I think at some point, I mean, the Eagles have done this whole all season. They've been worrying about the money, the future paying this position, that position. At some point, you have to accumulate some sort of talent for this year. And I look at it like, what? Reed Blankenship's going to be a free agent next year. They're going to let him walk? No, I think they're going to want to extend him. I think it's the perfect opportunity to plug in a first-round safety for the next 4 or 5 years, and then you can take care of the other positions in the secondary.
Last couple ones here for you. I thought this was you tell me how you. I'm going to tell you how I read this, and you tell me if you read it different. So Howie was asked a question about defensive tackles, and here's the quote: interior tackles, defensive tackles, interior pressure is vital and the key to success. This was the words that he used in the press conference. Well, that doesn't define Jordan Davis.
Right.
In any way. He never brought up run stopper. He brought up interior pressure. That kid's not on the field on third downs. I think that's a telling sign to me that they may pick that fifth-year option up, but giving that guy, I'll tell you this, if they pick that fifth-year option up, there's no way they're giving him the 3-year contract extension, because most of the time they give the 3-year extension using the fifth-year option. So don't you think that was telling a little bit about if that D tackle's down there, like Walter Nolan or somebody like that, that kind of spells the end of Jordan Davis?
If they take a defensive tackle in round 1, then I agree. It's the end. Because you're not going to have 3 first-round picks that you're paying all big money to. So I agree. If they took Nolan, then they will pick up that contract, let him play it out, and he's going to go. But I don't think they're taking a defensive tackle in round 1. I think they take a mid-round defensive tackle that they develop like they did Milton Williams. That's what I think they're going to look for. And I think they're going to bank that the guys continue to develop. And hopefully Jordan Davis, figures it out and comes back, has a good year. I like the way he finished the season, sacking the championship game, sacking the Super Bowl. Maybe something clicked. But I think it's really going to depend on how he comes in shape. I think he needs to come in like 320, 325. Like, come in better shape. And then let's see what he could do.
You think they trade that pick? You think they'd ever trade that pick? I talked to Xander about this yesterday. Traded to Seattle for the 18th pick. And they go up that high. How high do you think they will go? I mean, 18's awful high from 32.
No.
If they're going to make a move, how high? What's the highest you think they would move up in this draft?
What would a third round, like a third and a fifth round next year, give you? So maybe 10 slots. I think anywhere from about 22 up is where you're going to see them trade. So that's what I think. I mean, you got a lot of third round picks. You should be able to package one of those.
And next year.
So I think you're okay to do that and get up and get a guy. They're not going to pick 20 guys in the next 2 years, right? They're not going to have that many guys picked. They're not going to use all those draft picks. I think they trade up most likely. They could trade back, but if they do trade back, I want a first-round pick. I want a first-round pick in 2026.
What do you make of the Cowboys and the Dolphins talking about trading Tyreek Hill to the to the Dallas Cowboys and putting him on the other side of CeeDee Lamb?
Well, I think that with all the stuff going on off the field with Tyreek Hill, he would be the perfect Cowboy. That's what they do, right?
Hey, did you hear they're talking of moving up in the draft? The Cowboys want to move up in the draft.
See, I was interested in seeing what they do with Dak because, there's been some whispers about him trading Cleveland. I think Pittsburgh was another team. Could they do something like that? Which I tell you, I think is the smartest move because I think they're pretty much done with him. He ain't gonna win you nothing. You already know that. Yeah. So you might as well start over.
You think they would? You think they would move up to get that kid from Boise State, that running back?
If they're smart, because
they're not.
No, they're not. I mean, you need weapons on that offense. You need a running game. You need another receiver. I mean, if you look at Dallas honestly, and you say, all right, well, what scares me about them? CeeDee Lamb, that's it. Their running game don't scare me. Their offensive line don't scare me. Their receivers besides CeeDee Lamb doesn't scare me. So to me, yeah, you need a running. They need something like that. So if I was them, I would do it, but I think they're too stupid.
There's nothing about the Cowboys except Mark Holmes that scares me. That's it.
Right.
That's the only thing. That poor guy, man. I feel bad for him, man.
I know.
I don't know. Rooting for a shitty team is not the way to go. If I were him, you know what my next team would be if I'm Mark Holmes? Start rooting for the Longhorns.
There you go.
Hey, Philly,
right?
Thank you, brother. I appreciate
Thank you, my man. Appreciate it. Take care.
Check my friend out, Philly 500, there with his great show. We're going to take a timeout. Do me a favor, guys. Please hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.
This is Eric. When he got injured in a car accident, he called Morgan & Morgan. He not only gets a lawyer, he gets trial lawyers like Sam and Jessica who are in it to win it. He gets his own investigators with briefcases, leather ones. And if you ever have questions, our customer service folks keep things rolling. Injured? We're your army. Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm.
Your financial future is on the line. Are you ready for what's next? At Leone & Company Wealth Management, we help young professionals, business owners, and pre-retirees navigate the complexities of building and protecting wealth. For young professionals, we'll help you grow your wealth, plan for your future, and make the most of your hard-earned dollars. For business owners, we provide strategies to protect your company, manage risks, and create a lasting legacy for both your business and personal wealth. For pre-retirees, we'll design a plan to secure your retirement, ensuring you can live comfortably and confidently in your next chapter. Whether you're just starting out, managing a thriving business, or preparing for retirement, we're here to help you take control of your financial future. The first consultation is on us. Get the advice you need without the cost. Let's make your financial vision a reality. Take the next step. Scan the QR code to schedule your free consultation today. And of course, go Birds.
field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on three. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
In our hometown, we all look out for each other. We step up to keep our communities going strong. And at Independence Blue Cross, we're here to keep you going strong as the #1 health insurer in the region. No IBX is always looking out for you.
EAGLES. Eagles.
Out of tears. Especially from this guy, M. Reyes. My boy. Couple draft day notes before we get out of here. Keep an eye on this. Keep an eye on the Bears moving into the Brown spot. The Raiders trading for DeAndre Swift of the Bears. The Dolphins trading Tyreek Hill to the Cowboys. The Saints trading for Will Levis. Goddard to the Colts for a 6th. And the Commanders, they end up trading for Trey Hendrickson. I think the Bills are in that too. I think the Bills are in that. You ain't getting a 4th for Dallas Goedert. Relax, guy. Guy who misses 25% of his career. You're not getting a 4th for him. That ain't happening. Woo! Man, I love it. Tomorrow, hey, by the way, I believe Mike Golick and Brent Musburger are going to be joining us tomorrow. Got a big show tomorrow for you guys. So, all good. I appreciate each and every single one of you. Please do me a favor and hit the like button on the way out. Thank you for the super chats. Don't forget to catch out our friends, Birds 365 in the morning. We appreciate you guys checking shows out for us here on JAKIB. 2 to 6 tomorrow. Big Joe, thank you. Big Z, all good. And we'll see you on the flip side.